Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto seal-tailed beasts away and summon the God of Death part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Red eyes stared apathetically at the image reflected in the water before them. The image portrayed was of a blond boy with bright blue eyes happily hugging his injured instructor, wearing the man's headband on his forehead. Those crimson orbs rolled in annoyance at how the boy had gone from scared and tearful to joyful and bright in a matter of moments. Just minutes ago, the child had been informed of the beast he carried within himself, the same beast who possessed these red eyes. It's almost like he forgot about my reveal, the beast mused, unconcerned about the situation. The Kyohi most likely doesn't want to think about it right now, a voice that sounded both male and female spoke. 1. Not like I care about what he feels about the situation. It's not like he was my first container, anyway. True. Why are you here? Usually, you're deeper within his subconscious. His anger called me, the voice answered simply. He keeps pushing me further and further down, but he unconsciously brought me back out when Mizuki told him about you. How long do you believe you'll stick around? The bijou turned to see a flickering shadow with dull red eyes watching the reflecting water. I rather enjoy our discussions, after all. It depends on him, the shadow explained. If he stays angry or upset, I'll be around. But if he slips back into his denial, then I'll be sent back. What a pity. Knowing how he's dealt with everything over the years, I won't be surprised if you leave again. You know that this bothers me too, Kyubi, the shadow commented, frustration leaking out of their dual-tone voice. I hate being sent into the deep recesses of his mind, but I don't have any power to stop it. Well, I suppose we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Yes, the voice sighed out, frustration giving way to melancholy. Yes, we will. And wait they did, watching as the whiskered blonde was escorted to the Hokage and had a talk with the man about his status as a Jinchuriki. Throughout the talk, the Kyubi saw the formless shadow grow more and more agitated, the wisps twitching sporadically in its growing ire. Unbelievable, the shadow said in anger. A few sweet words from that lying old bastard, and Kyohi instantly trusts him again? Your earlier title for the boy certainly is fitting, the Kyubi mused with a chuckle. He's in denial about anything being wrong, even when the biggest liar in his life is forced to reveal he was lying. I swear, Kyohi, you are an overly trusting fool who would forgive someone who was about to kill you. The shadow moved closer to the reflecting water, red eyes narrowed angrily. Where's your rage, your justification? Why do you choose to forgive and forget when he could be keeping more hidden from you? The lower part of the shadow formed into legs with bare feet, stomping furiously at the image before them. Stop lying to yourself, damn it! As Naruto listened to the Hokage tell him how only the younger generation of the village was left unaware of him holding the Kyubi, he felt a small spike of pain in his head. He only showed that it hurt by wincing slightly, but he was unaware that one of his eyes had flashed red for a brief instant. He may have been unaware of it, but the Hokage saw it and was concerned that the fox was trying to influence the young man. I'd like you to also speak with Inoichi Yamanaka about this. Ino's dad? Naruto asked in confusion. Why? You went through a rather difficult experience tonight, Naruto. I just want to know if it affected you more than you yourself realize, the man explained, hiding his real worry. Oh, he looked down at that, remembering how he almost lost a teacher and someone who treated him better than most. I'll go talk to him, old man. Good. I'll have you meet him tomorrow after lunch. So, come here around then. Nodding once, the blonde got out of his seat and left the office, his mind awhirl with the revelation he had experienced. You reached him, the fox noted, genuinely impressed. You're becoming more solid, as well. The shadow turned their red eyes to their lower body, seeing the vague legs that had been formed. They walked around the reflecting water to test their new limbs, curling their toes against the water when they stopped walking. So, I suppose I'll have some power in this place. Not much, though. Perhaps you need to keep trying, treating this slight influence like a muscle. You mean train it to increase my power? Exactly. You don't want the boy to remain a fool, and I find you more enjoyable company than he will become. Perhaps you will gain a true form at the end of it all. The shadow with legs stood in place, a low hum of thought coming from them. Yes, that sounds like the best option for this. If we don't intervene, who knows what Kyohi will do. Their red eyes met the crimson orbs of the Kyubi. I'd like to request your help in this. And what will you give me if we succeed? I'll think of something. Right now, I need to focus on getting him to stop suppressing what he truly feels. I expect compensation at the end of this. I'm only helping you because there's nothing better to do in this seal. Thank you. The next afternoon, Naruto was seen laying on a comfortable chaise longue with Inoichi standing close to the boy's head. The man's hands were resting against his temples, chakra exuding from them so that he held a better connection with the Uzumaki's subconscious. Just relax, the man informed Naruto. I'm going to enter your mind now, and it will feel odd, which is normal. Right, the younger blonde replied, easing himself into a more relaxed position and letting his thoughts calm. When the Yamanaka clan had opened his eyes, he saw himself standing at a four-way intersection of what looked like a boiler room basement. Water reached up to his upper ankles while pipes carrying blue and red energy were seen attached to the ceiling overhead, the red ones dripping into the water he stood in. He took a moment to locate where the boy kept his memories, having done this procedure enough times to know how latent memories felt. When he got a lock on them, he began walking down one of the intersections, unaware of a certain shadow stepping out of the intersection opposite the one he took. The shadow followed the man, their legs silent as death compared to the sloshing water the man created with every step. While they would have removed him from Naruto's mind, they lacked upper limbs to grab him with. So, they settled on following the Yamanaka as he entered the space where Naruto's memories were kept. The space looked to be endless, pitch black save for the doors that floated around aimlessly. Some doors were made of damaged wood, some were average-looking, and some looked ornate, like one found inside a high-society home. The ornate doors were unlocked, the average doors held common turn locks, and the damaged ones were chained closed with a thick padlock holding them shut. This looks normal, the man mused to himself, used to seeing how stored memories look to outsiders. He has more locked memories than I consider healthy, but I can't really blame him for it. And you shouldn't, he heard a strange voice state, making him turn and lock his blue-green eyes with dull red ones. I know you're the man who walked around with that Yamanaka girl and runs the flower shop. You have me at a disadvantage here. It will stay that way, also, assured the shadow. Why are you here, trespasser? I'm here to determine Naruto's mental state. Lord Hokage was concerned that him finding out about the Kyuubi would cause some mental stress. Yes, I suppose the Lord of Liars would feel that way about the boy. Lord of Liars? Pressed the man. Don't think you can just have me tell you everything, trespasser. I don't know you other than passing glances from Naruto, so, I don't trust you. I don't trust anyone in your village except for a select few. The man felt the rage from the shadow like a toxic miasma, making his skin crawl. Why do you feel this way? I don't need to answer you, the shadow answered defiantly, their red eyes glowing for a moment before thin arms were shaped together from the midsection of its wispy form. Raising the right arm, they pointed their open hand at the man and locked him in place. Seeing him struggle to move his body made their eyes narrow dangerously. You are not welcome here and no one is welcome here. Not in this place. They clenched their hand, and the man felt his mental projection get crushed by an unseen force, shattering him into dust that dissolved in the water below. Not where Kyohi is most vulnerable, the shadow finished, their voice carrying a deceptive calm that belied their cold fury. Inoichi jerked back in surprise, clutching his head with a groan as he fell to a knee. What happened? The Hokage asked immediately, concerned for one of his ninja. Uzumaki, the Yamanaka groaned as he tried to stave off the splitting headache that was quickly growing stronger. He has some sort of defense against mental intrusions. A defense? What did it look like? Pressed the older ninja. It was some sort of shadow. Inoichi's vision began to swim, the headache growing into the starting phases of a migraine. It had red eyes. That was all he was able to say before he was forced to lie down, the migraine becoming too much for him. Sarutobi cursed under his breath before he had two of his ANBU take the man to the hospital. The remaining two ANBU waited for their orders, hidden like they had trained their lives to do. Cat, the man began, making the female ANBU appear in a crouch, I want you to keep an eye on Naruto. With what's happened, I can't help but think the Kyuubi is responsible. Sir, not that I don't trust your judgment, but wouldn't Tenzo be better suited for this? She questioned. Normally, yes. But he's on another assignment, and won't return for a few weeks at the very least. Besides, Naruto's seen you before, so it'd be better to have someone he's familiar with watching over him. Understood, she replied, turning to the unconscious boy. I'll take him home and explain what happened when he wakes. No, the man immediately halted, making her turn to him once more. I don't want to worry him about the Kyuubi any further. Just tell him that he's fine, and that Inoichi used too much chakra to help him. He'll connect his own dots. But they'd be the wrong dots, Kat thought to herself, concern growing for the blonde Uzumaki. Still, she said nothing and only nodded to her leader. Placing her hand on the boy, both disappeared in a flurry of leaves, arriving in his apartment with Naruto landing on his couch. Ugh, I forgot how badly he lived. Her masked eyes looked around his apartment, feeling a stab of pity for the resting Jinchuriki. Truly, Yugao didn't feel Naruto deserved any of the treatment he had suffered in the village. He was keeping the leaf and its people safe every day just by staying alive, something that should have been stressed to the masses when his status was revealed many years ago. With a sigh, she decided to clean up the place, if nothing else than to repay him for the service he continuously did for the hidden leaf. It seems that enraged stress gives you clearer form, the Kyuubi mused. You're only missing a midsection and head, now. Yes, I suppose so, but what will give me the final triggers that will solidify me? The shadow asked, concern in their dual-tone voice. Perhaps I could assist with that. Why? There was now suspicion in their voice. I've told you already, multiple times. I prefer your company, and there's nothing better to do. Besides, what I plan to tell you should definitely be enough. Oh? What makes you so sure, Kyuubi? Blackened lips curled back into a cruel, fanged grin as the fox's crimson eyes gleamed behind its prison bars. The identity of the boy's parents, and how they died the night he was born. The dull red eyes of the shadow widened at that, prompting the Bijou to reveal the hidden truth. Yugao nodded to herself as her clones finished cleaning up the apartment. It was still in poor shape, but that was mainly because of where it resided in the village. Naruto's neighborhood didn't get much financial help from the higher-ups, another thing they controlled with their disgusting greed. She was broken from her thoughts when she heard mumbles from the teen, and she turned to see him shifting in his sleep. His eyes were clenched tight, and his arms gripped the couch like a lifeline. The mumbles themselves were unintelligible to her, so she couldn't tell what kind of nightmare he was having. She almost reached out to rouse him, hoping to save him from the dream, but he became deathly still as her fingers were inches from him. From his clenched eyes, she saw 2 tears roll down and heard him give out a whimper that made her heart stop. Because from that whimper, she heard him say, "Dad, Mom." Within the seal, the Kyuubi had its eyes narrowed as its chakra was siphoned into the shadow. The shadow itself was gripping where its formless head was meant to be, the wisps of its body thrashing recklessly as their dual-toned voice screamed in anguish and rage. The truth had been revealed. The shadow that resided in Naruto's mind was now aware that the 4th Hokage and the only Uzumaki in the hidden leaf were his parents. It was also made aware of Kushina holding the Kyuubi before Naruto, and how a masked man had been the main cause of her death. But the real kicker to the shadow was how Naruto's father was the one who sealed the Kyuubi into him, and how the fox itself was the one who dealt the finishing blow to both of the boy's parents. The thrashing wisps gathered the siphoning Bijou chakra, pulling it in and making the shadow pulse with deep thrums that sounded like heavy drumbeats. The wisps then swirled around the shadow, obscuring its form from the fox for a few moments before their new form was revealed. Their skin was white as death, but flawless in complexion. Their limbs were lithe and limber, and their figure capable of making hourglasses envious. On their navel was the same seal Naruto held, but in a reverse rotation and crimson red in color. Their cheeks held whisker markings like the boy's, but they looked rougher than his natural ones. Eyes as bloody as rubies stared at the fox while their equally red hair spilled down their bare back, fraying viciously at the ends while 2 thick strands of it rested on their shoulders and covered their nipples. Those ruby orbs stared into the crimson ones of the beast for what seemed like eternity before the new form took a breath. Following their exhale, they spoke in a voice that was deathly calm and deceivingly soft. I live. Kyuubi stared down at the naked young woman that had been born from his container's darkness and his own chakra. In essence, she had become an entirely separate entity that now lived within the seal, just as he did. It was bizarre, but incredibly interesting. How do you feel? She looked to her pale skin, turning and twisting so that she could get a better look and feel for her new body. After a few minutes of doing so, she turned back to the fox with an oddly calm face. I feel liberated, she said softly before a hand raised over her throat, her eyes slightly wider in surprise. I really am a woman, but Kyohei is male. How could I be female? I don't know, but I have a guess. Please, she waved an arm, share it. You refer to the boy as a light while you were born from his darkness. Your seal is in an opposing direction than his. You're not as ignorant or naive as he is. Those 3 aspects alone are opposite to one another, so it would make sense for you, his opposite, to be the reverse gender. That makes sense strangely, she relented. His darkness Yami. A name for myself. He is my Hikari, I am his Yami. I refuse to share his name when we're so different. Just because you're different doesn't mean you'll stop looking after him, though, does it? She shook her head slowly. No, if I don't step in, he'll get him, you, and me killed because of his ignorance. She turned to the reflecting pool, her eyes narrowed. I need to reach him again. Waking up from his rest, Naruto looked around his apartment in confusion. How did I dash? I brought you here, a familiar voice answered, making him turn to see a familiar Anbu, setting a simple meal on the table for him. Cat, he greeted with a smile, getting up to move over to her and wrap his arms around her waist. I've missed you. She smiled softly behind her mask. During some of the nights she was assigned to watch him, she would reveal herself so that he wouldn't be so lonely. The way he hung on everything she said, no matter what it was both endearing and sad for her. He was so starved for attention that he didn't mind being silent when someone talked to him. It was like he was killing his own voice, as if speaking would send his companion away. She wrapped one arm around him while her other placed its hand on his head, ruffling his hair gently. I miss you too, Naruto-kun, she returned, speaking sincerely. She really did miss their talks, but his schooling and her duties cut into their time together. I heard you helped Irika stop Mizuki. Good work. He backed away and rubbed his head bashfully. It was no big deal. And again, what this village has done to you presents itself, she mused sadly. So unused to attention or even a simple compliment, he would get so bashful and abnormally shy when someone gave him praise. It's almost like you only expect insults or nothing at all. So, are you going to eat with me? You cooked, and I can share. I need to get back to Lord Hokage, now that you've woken up, she confessed. Oh, he looked down at that. But I'll be sure to visit you next time I'm off duty, promise. The way he lit up showed that her words were just what he needed to hear. Looking forward to it. She reached over and ruffled his hair again before pulling him in for another hug, catching him by surprise. Take care of yourself, Naruto-kun. You're a ninja of the village now. You have a responsibility. I will, he promised as he hugged her back before watching her leave in a swirl of leaves. Once she was gone, Naruto sat down and enjoyed the meal she had made. It was some mild curry over some steamed rice, something Cat was really good at cooking. Once he finished and washed the dishes used, he went to his bathroom to clean himself up before bed. After a shower, he moved over to the mirror so that he could dry his face. However, when he lowered the towel, he recoiled away with a cry of shock. Staring at him in the mirror was a red-headed girl that he had never seen before. She had intimidating reddish-pink eyes, which was weird since she looked really pretty, and the markings on her cheeks matched his own. What the? About time, he heard her speak, but the voice echoed inside his head. There are things we need to discuss, Hikari. Hikari? He repeated. That's not my. I know what your name is. I choose to call you Hikari, though. But why? He asked before blushing at talking to a girl while standing around naked. Can you hold on a sec? It's not like you're showing anything I haven't seen before. Have you been spying on me? He asked in comical fear. He saw her palm her face, pinching the bridge of her nose with a sigh. I will explain everything when we speak, but if it really bothers you, get dressed so we can talk. All right, he agreed awkwardly, quickly getting dressed. So, do I need to stay here to talk or am I going crazy? What makes you think you're going crazy? Well, I'm talking to someone I've never seen before. She just stared. In my bathroom. No change. Through my mirror. Still staring. With her voice in my head, he finished awkwardly, a sweat drop forming behind his head. He has a point, an amused voice spoke up in his head, making Naruto flinch and look around in surprise. You won't find me in your apartment, brat. I'm in your head like Yami here. Yami? Is that her dash? Enough! Yami yelled, using the link that had been formed to drag Naruto's consciousness into the seal. When his astral image was formed, he stumbled forward before righting himself. Holding a hand to his head, he stood up fully before freezing in shock at the sight of bars, or more specifically, who was behind those bars. KQB, he whispered. Yes, I am. And you're a pathetic runt who is so untrue to himself that he just might be crazy. The hell are you going on about, Fox? What he means, Yami spoke up, making him turn to her, is that my existence is primarily because you keep lying to yourself, hiding how you truly feel. Can you please put some clothes on? He asked awkwardly, his face burning red at seeing a cute, naked girl. Rolling her eyes, Yami had the shadows around them form around her, taking the shape of a dark robe with a red spiral over the heart. Satisfied? She asked in annoyance. Yes. Now, what do you mean? Think about it, Hikari. How do you really feel about the Hidden Leaf Village? It's my home, he started to say before he flinched at the heated glare she gave him. Speak honestly, Hikari. I'm not in the mood for your childish thoughts. Childish? It's the truth. No, it's what you want to be true, she fired back. I know how you truly feel, she continued, walking towards him before her body ghosted through him, like a phantom, because it is how I feel. He gulped at her actions, turning around to face both her and the QB. So, if you know me, how do I really feel? Simple, you hate this place, and the villagers. That's not GH. He was cut off by a rough kick to his chest that sent him tumbling back. I warned you, I'm not in the mood for childish thoughts. I'm tired of being stuck in your shadow thoughts, forced to watch as you consistently let those damnable villagers walk all over you. And for what? He crawled away as red-black aura started leaking from her body. For the naive hope that they'll possibly change? Say that they do. What makes you think they'll forget about how they once treated you? Deep down, they will still hate you for something you had no control over. That's not true. The old man said I can change them. A chilling laugh echoed from her, hysterical in nature. Ah, yes. The Lord of Liars. I haven't even gotten to that old bastard and the lies he's weaved around your weak mind. Don't you dare badmouth the Hokage. He's been there for me. Because he can't allow his precious weapon to even consider leaving the village. What? Naruto choked out, eyes wide. That man, that bastard, has lied to you about everything important that is connected to you. You asked him countless times why the villagers hated you. Tell me, what did he answer with? He couldn't say it, looking down helplessly. Answer me, damn it, she roared. He said he didn't know, Naruto cried back, his eyes brimming with unshed tears. Yes, that's exactly what he said, she confirmed, walking over to him once more as her menacing aura died down. And on the night when you found out about the QB behind me, he finally came clean. Who knows how long he would have kept that secret? He could have taken it to his grave. Naruto silently cried as the truth was thrust into his face. He wanted to defend the old man, but everything Yami had said was true, and he knew it. He also lied about not knowing your parents, Yami spoke again, putting the starting touches on the finishing blow. His head shot up at that, locking his tearful blue eyes with her stoic pink ones. And no, he wouldn't. Oh, but he would. Her face turned into a sneer as she walked around and mocked, and it was all done in order to keep you safe. After all, if you knew who they were, you'd suddenly be targeted by their enemies. As if you finding out was the same as letting the whole fucking world know. He cringed as she yelled out certain words, letting her, or was it really his, rage surface. Who were they? Yami turned back to him, studying the desperate expression he had. I won't lie to you, Hikari, not like the bastard. I want to tell you, but I worry about you falling back to your current ways, your childishness. He wiped his eyes and got to his feet, still looking desperate. What do you want me to do? For starters, quit being such a naive child. I know you know what goes on around you, and that you choose to ignore it under false hope. That stops now, understand? He flinched at the harsh look she gave him at the end. I'll try. That's what I expected to hear, honestly. I know it'll be hard for you to accept reality, but I'll keep forcing you to open your eyes, to quit dreaming of impossible outcomes. What else? He pressed. You and I will be working together to fix your shortcomings as a ninja. Your skills reflect onto me, so what you struggle with, I do as well. That makes sense. You're the feelings I always pushed down and denied, right? She smirked at that. Finally acknowledging me, eh? You want me to stop acting like a child? I better start now if I want to know who my parents are. It's not just to know that, she shot down. It's also to keep you, me, and the fox alive. The fox? Why should I do anything for Dash? The fox has helped us more times than you can count. You think your healing, or the fact that you can go so long without eating is natural? No, the QB is what has helped you stay alive and not keel over in the middle of the street. Besides, I owe him. He backed down at that, nodding reluctantly. Fine. Lastly, I want you word on something extra. Extra? He repeated, noting how the QB chuckled. What's so funny, Fox? Just listen, whelp, and you'll see, the Bijou replied. He would have spoke up earlier on, but there was no need to. Yami had said exactly what needed to be said, and it was successful so far. He turned back to Yami and pressed, What promise do you want me to keep? I want a body of my own, she answered, her gaze and tone totally serious. A body? You mean Dash? Yes, I only have a body within the seal. However, I have much more liberties than the QB, she ignored the Bijou's grumble, so it won't be nearly as risky to get me out than it would the Fox. How do I find you a body? He asked, scratching his head. Hell if I know. But as I said earlier, I will be working with you. That means that I will see and hear what is happening around you. I will also be able to influence you. What do you mean? She means that she will be able to possess your body, or even one of those chakra clones. A cold bead of sweat rolled down his neck. Oh. Anyway, we'll figure out a way together. If you can give me your word that you will accept those conditions, then I will tell you who our parents are. Our parents? He repeated. I'm your darkness, Baka, she repeated dryly. That means, in a sense, I am you. He blushed in embarrassment at the reminder. Oh, yeah, he coughed to regain his composure before nodding firmly. All right, I promise to work on those conditions. I'll try to stop being childish, I'll work on my weaknesses, and I'll try to find you a body. Good, she replied. Just know, if I get the sense that you will go back on your word, he suddenly felt her hand around his throat, lifting him up into the air and slamming him against the wall. I will erase your existence, and take over this body. We're two halves of the same coin, Hikari. Who's to say darkness won't swallow up the light? He paled at the notion, nodding rapidly. I promise. You're going to tell me about our parents and help me get stronger. That he paused briefly. That already makes you better than most of the village, even if you're setting conditions for it. There's the true thoughts I was looking for, Yami declared, setting him down gently and moving her hand to his shoulder. When he looked back up to her, she gave him a faint smile. I don't hate you, nor do I want to take over your body, Hikari. I'm just sick of watching people lie and treat you like shit, and watching you take it like a chump. I don't like to, he admitted softly. I just wanted them to accept me. Sometimes it's better to declare something a lost cause rather than waste your life pursuing it. He nodded in understanding, still depressed. Kushina was our mother's name. He perked up at that, giving her his full attention. What was her last name? Uzumaki, just like ours. The fox was the one who told me about her and our father, since he was the one that dealt their killing blow. He what? Easy, she urged sternly. I'll have him tell you what happened that night, since I already made my own deal with him. Now, the Uzumaki were a clan that lost their nation and Mom was sent here for her safety. I'll have the fox tell you more. Forcing himself to calm down, Naruto nodded in acceptance. And our dad? He's the one who sealed the QB into you. He gasped at that, recoiling in shock with wide, trembling eyes. T the fourth. Yami only nodded, giving him room for his inevitable. Reaha waha. Outburst. Sharing a look with the QB, Yami knew that the fox would keep his chakra contained so that nobody on the outside would feel it, and come rushing over. The two watched Naruto thrash around in rage and anguish, calmly waiting for him to burn himself out. It took quite a while, but eventually he fell on his back and just floated atop the water within the seal's subspace. She moved to stand next to his head, and he just looked upwards blankly, staring at nothing. Why? Why would a man famed for his noble nature sacrifice his life to seal a bijou within his son? She repeated rhetorically. He couldn't ask anyone else to do it. That was a major factor. He caught on surprisingly fast. What was the other? Kyubi? Both Uzumaki turned to the bijou, who scoffed in annoyance. Only an Uzumaki has the body and chakra strong enough to contain me, especially when I was at full strength. When your damnable father sealed me, he split my chakra in half and sealed myself into you while my missing half was sealed into him. So it was because he couldn't ask someone to sacrifice their child and because I was the only option. Your mother offered to take me with her in her death, but your father refused. Bijou reform in a few years upon our death, the length depending on the bijou in question. Even if I wasn't sealed within her, she was already 1 foot in the grave after what had happened earlier that night. Naruto listened silently alongside Yami. Like Yami said, I will tell you all about it later. For now, focus on the coming days of your ninja career. I gave her my word, and I won't back down from it, not when it would damage my pride. And your pride is the biggest possession you have left, besides your chakra and consciousness. Exactly. Getting up, Naruto stared down the fox, not backing down even an inch. I still don't like you, maybe even hate you for killing my parents, he began, clenching his fists. But I know there's a lot more to what happened that night. So I'll wait until I've heard everything before I make any decisions regarding the relationship we're forced to share. I can respect that, the QB replied. So long as you know that it'll be the only thing I respect you for until you prove yourself to me. Right now, I prefer her, he gestured to Yami, over you. If push comes to shove, I'll be taking her side over yours. The blonde Uzumaki nodded. I understand. He turned back to Yami and said, thanks for telling me about our parents. I guess I should be more careful about who I trust. I'm not saying that everyone in the village is untrustworthy. The Ichiraku family and that cat A&B genuinely care for you. There could be others too, but they're much harder to find. So keep my eyes open? Exactly, Yami confirmed, smiling at him before sending his consciousness out of the seal. That went well. Better than I was expecting, at least, the QB agreed. So, what will you do now, girl? What I promised to do, be there for him and help him improve. She gave the fox a smirk. He still needs to prove himself to you, after all. The QB smirked at that, nodding faintly. That's true. The following day saw Naruto sitting in the classroom for the last time, unable to hide the proud smile he had on his face at finally graduating. Sure, his placement as a genin could be counted as a field promotion, but he didn't care. You should, Yami spoke up, making him lose his smile for a confused look. What do you mean? Think about it this way. Remember that boy a year ahead of us that couldn't use his chakra for ninjutsu or genjutsu, yet still graduated? Yeah? Well, someone must have vouched for him in order to get him graduated, most likely his current teacher. Your reason for not passing the exam is relatively minor compared to his, but no one came to your defense. That isn't really fair, Yami. We know why they didn't come to my defense. I can't expect things to change simply because I know why I was hated. True, perhaps when our sensei comes to gather us and our future teammates, you could clear the air and see how he feels about you. If they respond negatively, then we'll need to come up with an alternative to getting stronger. Naruto sighed softly at that, his earlier good mood gone. I know things won't change right away, but I'm wondering if it'll ever get easier. What will you do if it doesn't? I don't know. We'll think of something, Yami promised, and he felt a ghost of someone's hand patting his shoulder. We're in this together, two halves working as a whole. He smiled faintly. Thanks, Yami-chan. Yami said nothing in response, simply choosing to watch everything through Naruto's eyes. She observed as Iruka, who still looked slightly injured, came in and announced the teams. She fought a growl when she heard that Naruto was to be paired with his misguided crush, Sakura, and his self-declared rival, Sasuke. Those two, she muttered, having the connection cut so Naruto wouldn't hear. An Uchiha, eh? Sure, the brat was the worst of his class, but still. Still? Yami pressed. A Sharingan, the bloodline of the Uchiha, is capable of controlling a bijou. It stings my pride to confess that I was controlled twice by that damnable eye. Once by Madara Uchiha when he fought Hashirama Senju, and the second on the night the brat was born. After you were ripped out of mother? Yes, he growled out, his pride stinging furiously. So you suspect that Hikari is paired with the Uchiha in case you cause problems? She guessed. It's not out of the question. Yami frowned at that, returning her attention to the outside world just in time to see Naruto hogtie the Uchiha after getting the jump on him. He then took the boy's image and approached the pinkette. She put her foot down then, taking over Naruto's body with the only sign being the transformed black eyes of Sasuke turning ruby red. No. Yami? What are you dash? Why am I in the seal? She heard Naruto cry out in alarm, making her scoff. I warned you that I could take over, didn't I? I stepped in before you could do something so foolishly idiotic that it could only end badly. I was just going to talk to Sakura-chan and ask her what she thinks about me, he argued. She'd never tell me face to face, but she'd definitely tell the bastard. Baka no Hikari, foolish light! She raged, getting him to back down. Your infatuation with that useless girl will end now. She is not worth it, and she will only hurt you in the end. You don't know that. Don't I? She challenged, relinquishing control back to him. Very well then. Prove me wrong, Hikari. If she thinks positively of you, then I'll apologize. He nodded with Sasuke's image before he approached Sakura and played the part of the bastard. Not much later, Naruto was sulking on the academy roof. Well, I didn't think that she was such a shallow bitch, Yami spoke up. Don't rub it in. I warned you, Hikari. I said that she would hurt you and I was right, she pressed, dragging him into the seal to speak to him up front. She made him look her in the eyes and continued, I never expected her to say those words, but I knew she thought poorly of you. Still, how do you feel about her so casually dismissing our dead parents, and how their deaths are why you weren't raised properly? How does that feel, hearing a sheltered brat speaking that way about you? Stop it, he whispered, clenching his eyes shut. I will never quit stopping you from foolishly denying everything that hurts you. Do not forget, Hikari, she poked him in the forehead, making him look back at her. I am the parts of you that you buried. I refuse to be buried again. Understand? He nodded sadly. Good. Don't forget that you made a promise to me that you would stop being a fool in denial. If you refuse to uphold that promise, then I will take over permanently, something I honestly hope won't happen. You say that, but you keep on making me see what hurts me. It was easier to ignore them. Easier? Perhaps, at first. But later? What if you found yourself forced to acknowledge everything that hurt you? What would happen if it was too much to bear? When he didn't answer, she finished, it would break you and I would be forced to pick up the pieces while the Kyuubi was left free to do whatever he wishes. And I wouldn't have hesitated, the fox freely admitted, giving a feigned smirk. Naruto didn't respond immediately, sulking sadly at how true everything was. So, what am I supposed to do? Just mistrust everyone? Must I repeat myself every time we speak? Yami asked in annoyance. I'm not saying to live such a jaded life. I'm saying for you to be mindful of what's around you, and not to take everything at face value. You have been infatuated with that girl for years, but she did nothing to strengthen those feelings whatsoever. She belittles you, strikes you for annoying her, and has no reason to return your affections. She is not worth it. She stressed the last words deliberately. Tears were slowly rolling down his cheeks as Naruto bitterly accepted the reality before him. He sat against one of the walls of the seal, hugging his knees to his chest to weep. Pitiful, the Bijou grunted, only to get shushed by Yami giving him a fierce look. She approached her lighter half and sat next to him. Reaching an arm over his shoulders, she let him lean into her and vent out his frustration and sadness. Things will get better in time, Hikari, whether you find more people to trust here, or if we must leave to avoid you breaking apart, things will get better. I'll always be here with you, a darkness that will protect your light. She let him weep after her promise, unaware of her own stray tear that rolled down her cheek. 2 hours. That's how long it had been since the sensei came and picked up the other teams, leaving Team 7 alone in the classroom. The trio sat in relative silence, a silence that unsettled the resident Pinkette. She was used to Sasuke's silence, but Naruto being quiet was so foreign and unnerving. What's worse was that he had this depressing air about him, which honestly concerned her. She was so used to seeing Naruto being optimistic and hyper, but now, he looked so subdued. Well, except for when she attempted to ask if he was alright. That got her a look that was so emotionally charged that she quickly backed down. The sadness and anger that radiated from his stare sent chills down her spine and even got Sasuke to briefly look their way. Now, she just fidgeted in her seat and spared glances between her teammates unsurely. Salvation came when the door opened and the man she assumed was their sensei strolled in, casually reading an orange-colored book. Team 7, right? He asked coolly, earning an annoyed look from Sasuke, a shy nod from her, and a dull stare from Naruto. My first impression of you all is that you guys seem pretty boring. Sasuke's brow twitched while Sakura frowned. Naruto kept his dull look, which concerned the Jonin, though none of the genin knew that. Meet me on the roof. We'll get acquainted there, he stated before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke immediately got out of his seat and walked after the man, followed quickly by Sakura. Naruto took a moment to take a breath before he slowly stood up and trailed after his teammates. When he arrived, he took a seat to the left of Sasuke, who sat between him and Sakura. Kakashi leaned on the railing of the roof across from them, still reading his book. So, why don't we get started by introducing ourselves? I'll start, and you three just follow my format. My name is Kakashi Hataki, your sensei. I like reading and traversing the road of life. I dislike those who don't understand good literature and people who dismiss the importance of the road. I have lots of other hobbies that you don't need to know about, and my dream is a secret. Not much was shared, but the genin got the basic idea and Sakura went first. I'm Sakura Haruno. I mean the person that I like is she gave a discreet glance at Sasuke and blushed faintly. I dislike Ino Pig and Naruto Baka, she continued with a frown, not noticing the blonde's hair shadowing his eyes. My hobbies are she gave Sasuke another glance, turning slightly redder. And my dream is this time, she just squealed to herself with a giggle, which prompted Sasuke to scoot away from her. That was informative, Kakashi lamely commented with a sweat drop. Next? Sasuke locked gazes with the Jonin before he grunted in annoyance. My name is Sasuke Uchiha of the Uchiha clan. I don't like many things because I dislike so many things. My hobbies are training to get stronger, and my ambition is to restore my clan after I destroy someone. Sakura shivered at that while Kakashi simply hummed. The man looked to the blonde, and his earlier concern returned when he saw him looking lost in his own thoughts. It looked like he didn't hear anything about his teammates. Lastly? He called, getting the blonde's attention. Naruto Uzumaki. I like the few people who don't hate me. Kakashi fought a wince while the other two looked confused, and I dislike those who hurt me or don't have any clue what they're talking about. Here, he gave Sakura a faint frown and Kakashi noticed one of his eyes flash ruby red for a split second. My hobbies include testing my creativity with pranks, relaxing as I garden and cook, and spending time with the few people who accept me. My dream is. Here, he fell short and looked unsure. This surprised Sasuke and Sakura, for they had expected him to declare his goal of becoming the Hokage. Kakashi fought a frown and simply waited for Naruto to finish. My dream is to stop hurting and uphold the promise I made to myself, he finished, speaking about Yami without the others knowing. And my goal is to help you get there while my dream is to walk in my own body, Yami added, making him give a ghost of a smile. A personal promise, huh? Kakashi asked curiously. I have one of those too. I seriously doubt that, Naruto replied with a dull stare. What could that mean? The Jonin mused before he decided to get things back on track. Well, congrats on passing the academy. However, while you're all genin, that doesn't mean that you've earned your place on Team 7. First, I'll be testing the three of you to see if you have what it takes. Pass my test and you're in. Fail the test, and you'll either be placed in the reserves or sent back to the academy, depending on how bad you do. What? Sakura cried in shock. But we already have been tested. If you really think that the academy's exam was a test of your skills as potential genin, then you're not ready, the man shot down easily. I'll be testing you three at Field 7. It's the same as our team number, so there shouldn't be any excuse to forget it. Be there at 6 a.m. sharp, and I'd suggest missing breakfast. This test will be rather tough, and you wouldn't want to throw up. Until then. With that, he left in another swirl of leaves. Seeing no point in staying, Sasuke stood up and immediately started to leave. Sakura got up too and followed him. Sasuke-kun, do you want to get something to eat? We could come up with some ideas on how to tackle this test. No, he shot down without looking back, making her slump. Naruto walked past her, not saying a word. This made her feel worse, and she couldn't hold back from speaking. Hey, Naruto? He stopped a few feet from her, not turning around to acknowledge her. What? She winced at his tone. It sounded so empty. Are you okay? You seem bothered by something. Why do you care? He asked back. Last I checked, you didn't like me. Another wince, this one for having her words thrown back in her face. That wasn't fair to you, sorry. Was that all? No. You never told me if something was wrong. It's none of your business, he stated with finality. I don't feel like talking to someone who takes everything for granted and doesn't understand what it's like to struggle. Now she was mad. Where do you get off? I'm not sheltered. Right, he drawled out sarcastically, finally looking over his shoulder to look her in the eye, freezing her in place. And I'm not some idiot who should have been raised better by his parents. She gasped softly with wide eyes, taking a step back. Those were your exact words, right? He continued, turning around fully to face her. Funny how someone like you can complain about how an orphan like me grew up. So, let me ask you the same question, where do you get off? With that said, he turned back around and walked away, leaving a guilt-ridden Sakura alone. Sir, I think you should look over whoever made the reports about Naruto, Kakashi declared to the Hokage, standing before the older man after the ANBU had left. He's drastically different than what I was led to believe. How so? Sarutobi questioned with a small frown. He's so reserved. It's like he's constantly thinking things over. Also, he's guarded. He would give me these looks now and then, as if he was trying to figure out if I was an ally or an enemy. Suspicions already? The Hokage mused, looking concerned. What else? His introduction was concerning too. He mentioned favoring the handful of people he's met that don't turn him away, how he dislikes people who know nothing about what they say, and how he dreams about keeping some promise he made to himself. I tried to get him to say more on that by saying that I have my own personal promise, but he said that he doubted it. What was really concerning was how he said that. It was like he knew something I didn't. Do you believe that he might have referred to the beast within him? No, I didn't get that vibe from him. One of his eyes turned red for a brief moment, but I didn't feel an ounce of the Kyuubi's chakra. Anything more about the red eye? Did it look like the fox's? No, there wasn't any sort of slit pupil. It just changed red briefly. The man thought to himself for a moment, mentally going over everything his subordinate had informed him. Inoichi mentioned how Naruto had a defense against mental intrusions that had red eyes, but he didn't say anything about the fox after our healers repaired the mental stress he endured. He only mentioned some formless shadow that grew limbs before it booted him out. A second personality, perhaps? Kakashi guessed. Possibly. Keep an eye on him, Kakashi. Sasuke as well. We know the Uchiha is a flight risk, but Naruto may become one too. And if I had to choose between the last of a clan and our Jinchuriki, I'd pick Naruto. While a large part of him felt that the Hokage's words were spitting on the memories of Kakashi's sensei and his wife, the Jonin nodded his acquiescence to the order. Yes, sir. The morning of Team 7's test found the three genin arriving at Field 7 a few minutes before 6 a.m. Sakura looked exhausted while Sasuke and Naruto both looked fine. The Uchiha was used to getting up early so that he could use the whole day for his training, while Naruto woke up this early for other reasons, either to set up his pranks or gather food like fish or mushrooms. 1. The Pinkette looked to her blonde teammate as he sat against a tree, trying to get a little more rest before their sensei showed up. What he had said to her had stayed in her head all night, and it contributed to her skipping dinner, that and her desire to diet. Thinking back on how she had complained about Naruto to Sasuke, or Naruto disguised as Sasuke, made her realize that he was right to call her sheltered. She had grown up with two loving and supportive parents who bought her everything she could need, along with many things she wanted. Meanwhile, Naruto grew up alone and had to make do with whatever he could get for himself. And she had the nerve to complain about dead parents, people he probably didn't even know, not raising him properly. That's more than being sheltered, that's being a heartless bitch, she thought to herself sadly. Geez, even I can believe you said that. Her inner self spoke up, making Sakura wince. Sitting against her own tree, she hugged her knees to her chest and tried to avoid looking at her teammate. Part of her realized that he had listed her as one of his dislikes, a shallow girl who knew nothing about what she was talking about. She felt horrible. The pink one is feeling a tremendous amount of guilt and self-loathing, the Kyuubi commented with a dark chuckle. It's been a while since I've felt such strong negative emotions. Even those villagers who mistreat you didn't have that girl's level of negativity. Let's just hope that she doesn't bother us again, Yami added blandly. You two think Kakashi will be late again? Yami hummed thoughtfully. Give the man about 15 minutes. If he isn't here by then, go off on your own and we'll do some physical training. He nodded in agreement before a thought came to him. Do you want to be part of the test, Yami-chan? She mentally noted that it was the second time he had added Chan to her name. I'd appreciate it. It'd be nice to stretch outside of this place. One of these days, the fox grumbled. And so, Naruto waited as he rested against the tree. Mentally counting the clock for 15 minutes, he gave subtle glances at his teammates. Sasuke was leaning against his own tree in silence, seemingly resting as well, though he looked restless. Almost as if he needed to be doing something. As for Sakura, she had a blank look in her eyes as she sat against another tree with her knees hugged to her chest. That traitorous lingering feeling of affection for her wanted him to go over and comfort her, but the larger part of hurt and anger kept him from doing so. That and remembering what Yami had been right concerning the Pinkette. After mentally counting for 15 minutes, he got to his feet and started to walk off towards the center of the field. He barely took a couple of steps before his sensei appeared directly in his path in a flurry of leaves. Giving the blonde an eye smile, he asked rhetorically, leaving so soon? You said 6 a.m. sharp, sensei. You were making us wait, so I decided to get some training done on my own, Naruto answered. Sasuke grunted to himself, annoyed that he didn't think of that. Sakura said nothing and just slowly got to her feet. Well, good for you for thinking ahead. I'm afraid I got sidetracked on the road of life, which made me late. Dry looks were aimed at him from all his potential genin, making the man give them another eye smile that looked noticeably smug. So, since we're all here and ready to go, let's get started with your test. It's rather simple. He reached into his pouch and pulled out 2 silver bells that jingled at the slightest movement. You just need to grab these bells from me. But there are only 2, Sakura pointed out worriedly. Does this mean that one of us will automatically fail? Good deduction, Sakura, the Jonin praised, hoping to raise her spirits a little. He had seen how down she was while he observed the trio earlier. Yes, one of you will not get a bell. Whoever doesn't get a bell will be tied to one of the 3 posts behind me. Since it's close to 6:30, we'll start then and end it at 10. That gives you 3.5 hours for your test. Sasuke tensed himself and Sakura did the same, albeit nervously. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the Jonin while Yami spoke up. There's something he isn't telling us. Also, whoever doesn't get a bell will also go without lunch, the man added, once again giving them an eye smile. 2 stomachs growled faintly while one was silent. The silence came from Naruto, who gave the man a dull look. You really think this is the first time I've gone without breakfast or any sort of meal? If you do, then you know nothing about me. Kakashi fought a wince at that, unable to deny the truth in that statement. While he knew who Naruto really was, he never took an active role in the boy's life. So, he did know nothing. Not showing what he was feeling, the man pulled out a timer and set it for 10 before he saw that it was nearing 6:30. We'll start in 5. The genin got prepared. 4. There's something else. 3. What? 2. Some hidden lesson. 1. Start. The 3 genin leapt off into the trees to hide from the man's view. Sasuke traveled through a few more before settling himself in his 5th tree. Sakura quietly got back down to ground level and crawled beneath a thick bush on Kakashi's flank. Naruto stayed in the 1st tree, simply going higher so that he had a bird's eye view of the field. What do you mean a hidden lesson? You really believe that a genin has a chance of taking anything from a trained jonin? It's more than getting the bell. Naruto took a moment to think about what she said before the answer came to him. Wait, we have to team up, don't we? Yami nodded within the seal. Yes. Though, expecting 3 academy students who don't like one another to instinctively team up is poor thinking on Hataki's part. You dislike the Uchiha, you used to like Sakura, and they both don't really like you. This team is doomed to fail this test unless you 3 somehow put aside your differences. Scoffing, Naruto took a set on the branch he was on and grumbled, fat chance of that happening. Sasuke will more than likely try to take on Kakashi alone. As if life wanted to prove him right, he saw a blue and white shape rush Kakashi from one of the other trees. He saw the Uchiha take on Kakashi in a taijutsu fight, but the Jonin easily held him back while still reading his book. When Sasuke got pushed back, he flew through hand seals before spewing out a large fireball that engulfed Kakashi. No way was that enough, Naruto muttered, watching Sasuke stay in place to catch his breath. He then saw the Uchiha tense before he was dragged underground with only his head above the dirt. Okay, that was pretty funny. Focus, Hikari. The man looks open, but he's more than likely waiting for one of you to take advantage of his dropped guard. Naruto nodded and descended the tree just in time to see Sakura throw a handful of shuriken to get their sensei away from the Uchiha. The man casually leapt away, but one of the shuriken hit some ninja wire which sent a tied kunai flying at the man in great speed. Unfortunately for Sakura, Kakashi was easily able to catch the kunai. Not a bad effort, Sakura, the man praised before his senses went off and he turned in place to deflect 2 handfuls of shuriken. A frontal assault won't work, Naruto, he warned as the orange-wearing genin rushed him. Naruto narrowed his eyes and held up a single hand seal as one of his eyes flashed ruby. Ready, Yami-chan? Of course, Hikari, she replied, sounding eager. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto declared, forming a clone beside him. To Kakashi's concern, the clone's eyes were ruby instead of blue, but he was more focused on the 2 blondes running in crisscrossing fashion. With every cross, they threw some shuriken to keep Kakashi on his toes before Naruto leapt forward with his fist pulled back. Kakashi blocked the punch with his palm, but the ruby-eyed clone used the original as a stepping stone to land a kick to his face. Kakashi moved with the kick, letting the blonde think he got a blow before an arm snapped out and grabbed the clone's stretched leg. Nice try, he commented before the clone smirked and burst into a dark cloud of wisps. He couldn't think about it as Naruto burst through the cloud with a kunai in hand. Kakashi caught the slash with his own kunai, but he saw the cloud of darkness swirl around the two of them before forming back into the ruby-eyed clone that was within his guard with a kunai pointed at his heart. The two blondes smirked at him while he tried to figure out how a shadow clone was able to pull off what it just did. He was distracted by his student and his own thoughts enough to allow Sakura to cut the strings of the bells and let them roll to the side. She quickly ran for them and gathered them with a smile. Got them! She cheered. Sasuke, who was still mostly buried, though Sakura dug him out enough for him to pull himself out, looked angered at the girl getting the bells while he was easily bested by the Jonin. His anger grew when he looked at the two blondes, seeing how the Uzumaki somehow knew how to create solid clones and not the basic illusionary ones from the academy. Yami dispelled herself in a burst of white smoke, the regular kind that showed a clone's death when she returned to the seal. She gave an annoyed huff. So, she took advantage of the situation to get the bells. Can't really be angry with her since shinobi are taught to do that. But the question is who she'll give the other bell to. You really have to consider that, she fired back blandly. Kakashi took a step back from Naruto and looked to the timer, seeing how the bells were taken within the second hour of the test. The first had been spent with the genin waiting for a proper moment to strike before Sasuke's impatience took hold. He had to say, he was impressed with them. Sasuke's skills were to be expected given his earlier training and his placement as Rookie of the Year. Sakura had a good head on her shoulders, though she would definitely need to step up her training if she hoped to catch up. And once again, Naruto caught him by surprise. That strange clone of his was more than just a shadow clone, and he had good tactics, more than likely from his elaborate pranks. He did say that he liked to test his creativity with them. Perhaps his creativeness would be useful in terms of strategy. Nice work. So, Sakura, he began, getting her attention, since you have the bells, you can decide who to give the second one to. He expected both boys to give her either a pleading, Naruto, or a demanding, Sasuke, look, but he only got half of his expectations met. Sasuke did give a demanding scowl towards Sakura, but Naruto simply looked at her as if he knew what would happen. The pinkette bit her bottom lip, torn between her crush and her guilt. She wanted to help her Sasuke-kun advance, but she still felt horrible about what she had said about Naruto. Eventually, she made her decision and tossed both bells to her teammates. That was unexpected, Kakashi muttered. Care to explain? Both Sasuke-kun and Naruto are more prepared for being a shinobi than I am, she answered. I'd only hold them back. Mentally, she added, at least this way I can help and start to make up for what I said. Interesting. I didn't think you'd have it in you to put your teammates above yourself. Well, here, the man paused dramatically, I guess I have no choice but to pass you all. Congratulations. Sasuke and Sakura were both agape in surprise while Naruto frowned at Kakashi. The test was never about the bells, was it? He accused. Partially, but mostly not, the Jonin confessed. This test was to see if you three would be willing to work together and put aside your differences. While you all attacked me on your own, you did work together in a sense. Sasuke advanced first, Sakura came to his aid, and Naruto distracted me, which gave Sakura the time needed to dig out Sasuke and remove the bells. It wasn't a voluntary effort though, Naruto pointed out. But it was still an effort. So I hereby dub the three of you as genin of Team 7. Sakura cheered in excitement, while Sasuke smirked. Naruto fought a smile, knowing that there was more going on. Something tells me that we weren't allowed to fail, Yami commented. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, he agreed. After dismissing the genin for the day, Kakashi held Naruto back to talk. So, that was an impressive clone technique he used. I didn't know that shadow clones could act like that. The sacred scroll gave some extra details about them, but not everyone could pull them off, Naruto replied, thinking up an excuse on the fly. The chakra necessary for that is insane, and I have chakra in spades. Yeah, you sure do, the man complimented. Care to explain why your clone's eyes were a different color? Was that something else the shadow clone could do? Naruto frowned at the man's knowing tone. It isn't the fox, if that's what you're worried about. And I don't feel like telling you what it is. Raising his hands up, the Jonin gave his student an eye smile. Hey now, no need to get so defensive. I had a feeling it wasn't the fox, and you seemed to be in control of your odd clone. I just wanted to make sure that any future surprises wouldn't be the unpleasant kind. If they are unpleasant, then it's only because of what I'm forced to become, Naruto replied cryptically before excusing himself and walking off. See you tomorrow, Kakashi. The man hummed to himself, thinking over the enigma that Naruto Uzumaki had become. I wonder what else he'll surprise me with. Inside his mindscape, Naruto sat across from Yami while she had her back to the gates that held the Kyuubi. It was early in the morning that followed yesterday's bell test with Kakashi, and his darker half wanted to speak with him. You and I worked fairly well during our final assault on Hataki yesterday, she spoke up with a faint frown. We managed to catch him by surprise, but we can't expect that tactic to work on every opponent we face. Also, you yourself must improve your sync with both myself and your clones. Gotcha. Maybe we could do some mock battles between us and help me get some experience. That will help, but I can only give you so much experience since I'm a half of you, Hikari. You'd need to spar against others to improve more thoroughly. Try to find someone who is proficient in taijutsu. You in your darkness lack a true style and only move with basic stances and rough instincts. That's true. Perhaps that boy who was sponsored a year before? Didn't you have an issue with him during the team placements? Naruto brought up. Not with him, personally. My issue was the fact that a person with greater flaws than you was allowed to graduate while you had to be tricked into committing a crime before you were granted genin status. I won't deny that he'd be a useful source of physical training, and I agree with Kyuubi-san that you should seek him out. Naruto hummed in agreement. Okay, I'll have a clone search around for Lee. Hopefully, it won't be so hard to find him. Very good. Now, we have our first day of training with Hataki and your teammates. Better get going, Hikari. Nodding with a faint smile, Naruto left his mindscape. Kyuubi then spoke up. When will you bring up the notion of Fuinjutsu to him? In time. Best to have him fix the flaws in his basic skills before moving him to more difficult subjects. And I doubt there's a study more difficult than Fuinjutsu. I won't argue with that notion, considering how I've been sealed 3 times now and am only half of what I used to be because of sealing. In the meantime, I'm curious about something, Kyuubi-san. I was able to take on the form of fluid dark smoke yesterday. I assume that's linked to my natural alignment to darkness. But will this mean that Hikari will eventually get something associated with light? Possibly, but if he does eventually get some sort of power, it'll awaken only when he is ready or in need of it. We can't force the issue for this. I see. I wonder what it will be. Well, Kakashi began after ignoring Sakura calling him out on being an hour late. I believe it's time we began our first official day of training as Team 7. Now, before you think I'm going to immediately start you on learning any jutsu, I'm not going to introduce you to any new jutsu until I know that you 3 can work together more effectively. I believe in teamwork above working alone. But what if we have issues that we need to work on alone with you? Naruto questioned, much to the Jonin's interest. Such as? Well, I'll admit that I'm not good at taijutsu. I know a few basic stances and moves, but most of my taijutsu is me acting on some basic instincts. Sasuke and Sakura looked slightly surprised at Naruto admitting his own faults so readily, considering how stubborn he was during the academy. Kakashi, on the other hand, was proud to see one of his students accepting that they have faults in the first place. Are you doing anything personally to fix this, Naruto? I have a shadow clone looking for someone I remembered being a year ahead that was sponsored by a Jonin despite only being able to use taijutsu. I figured that the 2 of us could train so that I could try and find a style that works, and he gets a regular sparring partner. Kakashi nodded with his signature eye smile aimed at his blonde student. Good. I'm glad to see you taking some initiative in improving yourself. Turning to the other genin, he continued, you 2 should think about doing something similar to your teammate. You can't always rely on your sensei to be able to help you improve as a ninja. You'll find that, on multiple occasions, you'll either need to work on your training alone or with someone else. Now, as to your question, Naruto, if you feel like you have an issue, then I'll be willing to help you either fix it or point you in a general direction to do so. Accepting the answer, Naruto nodded and waited patiently for the team training to commence. In the corner of his eye, he saw that Sakura looked thoughtfully concerned while Sasuke showed nothing, concealing anything with his usually disinterested expression. Mentally, he shook his head at how stubborn the Uchiha was. He hadn't changed much since the academy, and that would cost him. The clone Naruto had sent out had been searching for Lee for almost an hour. He checked other training fields, but he wasn't there. He checked the place where missions were assigned, but he only saw teams 8 and 10 there getting their first year ranks, missions that made him gawk at how stupid they sounded. He even asked a couple of his superior ninja if they had seen him, but they hadn't, though they did tell him what team Lee was assigned to since the Jonin in charge of it was pretty well known. So, the clone expanded his search parameters from Lee to Team 9 and or Might Guy. That had happened about 10 minutes ago, but still he didn't have much luck. It wasn't until he was near the Hokage mountain that he heard the faint echoes of two male voices yelling at one another. Concerned, he changed his direction and headed toward the voices. When he was able to spot who they were, he was pleasantly surprised to see that it was Lee and, more than likely, Guy-sensei. Sensei, if I cannot finish this exercise, then I will lap the hidden leaf 10 times while on my hands. Lee cried out, showing Naruto that the two weren't necessarily yelling at one another, they were just really into their physical training. That's the spirit, Lee. I'll do them with you so that your youth could be more motivated to reach my level of physical might. YOSH. A part of me wants to fail this exercise now, Sensei. Just so I could be motivated by you some more. Officially overhearing two men in green spandex yelling youthfully at one another, Naruto's clone made his presence known to the taijutsu enthusiasts. Once he had their attention, he politely greeted his fellow genin. Hey Lee. Good to see you again. Ah, Naruto-san. You've succeeded in becoming a genin as well. That is wonderful news. Naruto? Guy repeated, looking interested. The same Naruto who managed to outwit Lord Hokage and take something from the village vault a few nights ago. In my defense, I thought that I could trust Mizuki when he said that there was a make-up exam I could take, Naruto's clone cut in. You misunderstand what I meant, young Naruto. I was actually rather impressed that someone who wasn't an official genin could get the drop on Lord Hokage successfully. Sheepishly, the clone explained, he wasn't expecting it since I haven't done anything like that before, and I managed to take advantage of both that and a weakness I know he had. Guy laughed boisterously at the blonde Uzumaki's humble honesty. Truly, you have some untapped potential. Now, may I ask what you are doing up here? Yes, I was actually hoping to talk to Lee about taijutsu. What about it, Naruto-san? Lee questioned curiously. I'll be blunt. My taijutsu isn't great, and I could really use someone to help me find a style or form that I can work with. I remember that you were really good at taijutsu in the academy, and I was hoping that you could help me with mine. I could offer you some shadow clones to help you practice your own style against multiple opponents in return. Lee was surprised at how his ex-classmate had complimented him when everyone else from the academy usually brought him down. Guy, on the other hand, was impressed with the extra steps Naruto was taking to help fix the flaws in his skill set. It showed personal insight and initiative that many fresh genin lacked nowadays. Lee, he spoke up, earning the attention of both genin, take young Naruto's offer. So far, you haven't gotten much practice with fighting multiple adversaries at once, and rumors of Naruto's usage of the shadow clone technique help me believe he can assist you in that regard. Saluting, Lee replied, yes, sensei. As for you, Naruto, the Jonin continued, I'm impressed with your drive and willingness to work on your issues. As both thanks for offering Lee some extra training and as a reward for showing such initiative, I'll take some time to look up the forms for a few styles that I believe may help you in your ninja career. I'll present them to you tomorrow evening during the evening conditioning Lee and I usually go through. Is this acceptable? Immensely relieved and grateful, Naruto's clone nodded his agreement before bowing respectfully. Yes, that sounds perfect. Thank you so much, Guy-sensei. Excellent. Now I'm busy giving Lee some personal training for today, so we won't have need for your clones today. We will start our conjoined training the night you choose the style you wish to learn. I understand, and thanks again, sensei. I'll be sure to let boss know the good news. Boss? Both green-clad ninja repeated. I'm just a clone, so I wouldn't have been able to offer much help today anyway. Boss created me to find Lee and give him the offer before returning to him with his answer. Good seeing you again, Lee. And I'll make sure boss knows to meet you both tomorrow night. Tell him to meet us by the memorial stone, Guy informed, earning a nod from the clone before he took off. Chuckling at what just happened, the Jonin returned Lee to his exercises while once again being impressed with Naruto's intuitiveness. The boy was already breaking ground with his training. That's enough for now, Kakashi spoke up, prompting Naruto to lift his headband from covering his eyes. Nice job, you two. Naruto, you listened to Sakura rather well. And Sakura, you provided apt description for this obstacle course. You could have completed it faster, but speed will come with more practice. The two genin nodded while Sasuke was leaned against a random tree as he watched his two teammates complete the exercise. To help Team 7 improve their teamwork and hopefully build some measure of trust in one another, he had one member blindfolded while a second member acted as their eyes and guided them through an obstacle course of Kakashi's own making. First up had been Sasuke leading Sakura. They took the longest since he didn't give her the clearest of instructions, usually keeping them clipped and short. Because of this, Sakura was bereft of information that, while minor, could have made the course easier to handle. Next was Naruto, led by Sasuke. The Uchiha's stubbornness showed itself again, and he once more gave short-worded orders without much explanation. Naruto learned from watching Sakura struggling and didn't move until after asking Sasuke for extra details whenever he felt that the orders weren't clear enough. Third had been Sasuke, led by Naruto. Part of Naruto's old competitiveness with the Uchiha threatened to show, but he held himself from acting on it and led Sasuke through the course with simple orders that had extra information added when he felt it was needed. This included stray items that the three genin could have tripped over left behind by their sensei. Fourth was Sasuke, led by Sakura. Their time, in contrast to when Sasuke was leading her, was the fastest since Sasuke started moving by recalling how the course felt during the other times he walked it. Sakura had been left following him and calling out whenever he made an incorrect turn or almost tripped over an obstacle. Kakashi had complimented them on their speed, but reprimanded Sasuke on his impatience. Fifth had been Sakura, led by Naruto. She surprised Naruto by patiently waiting for his orders and allowing him to explain extra details before she made any moves. They had the second smoothest time with the course. When Sakura was leading Naruto, he offered to walk ahead slowly and let her warn him of incoming directional changes or obstacles to avoid. This proved to be the smoothest rendition of the exercise, and the second fastest overall. Now, why don't we all head over to the mission distributary and pick up our first official assignment as Team 7? The Jonin suggested, leading his genin away from the training grounds and towards the village proper. Not too long after they reached one of the main streets of the village, Naruto's clone dropped down next to them and approached his creator. Lee and Guy-sensei agreed to the offer, boss. Guy agrees that Lee could use the practice of fighting multiple people, and he offered to look into some styles that you could choose from tomorrow night. He said to meet at the memorial stone. Thanks, the original replied, dispelling the clone before he swayed in place and held his head. Slightly blurred images of the clone's talk with Guy and Lee passed through his mind before he composed himself and looked to Kakashi questioningly. I think I just saw what my clone did earlier. It's a feature of the shadow clone technique, considering how it wasn't meant to be used in the way you do, Naruto. The jutsu was actually created to be a scouting technique that creates a clone of the caster that couldn't be killed by enemy units, or traps laying in wait. The dispelled clone's memories then returned to the caster, allowing them to see what their clone had scouted. That's amazing, Sakura stated, genuinely impressed by the jutsu. But why isn't the shadow clone taught to most ninja? The chakra cost is too much, Naruto informed her, and she surprised him yet again by showing she was paying attention. Just one shadow clone splits the user's chakra in half. The loss of so much chakra is too much for most ninja, and they exhaust themselves too quickly for them to be effective on the field. Naruto's correct, Kakashi agreed. In fact, the reason Naruto can use this jutsu to the degree he's shown is because he has such vast levels of chakra. Currently, I wouldn't be surprised if his chakra stores matched that of Lord Hokage. Sakura was amazed at that knowledge while Sasuke scowled enviously. To think that the class dropout had so much chakra to use. It meant that Naruto could, potentially, toss out multiple jutsu like they were candy. Well, shall we continue? We still haven't gotten our mission yet, after all. With that, Team 7 continued to the mission distributary. Having learned from his clone about how stupid D-rank missions were, Naruto wasn't surprised when Team 7 was given the so-called assignment of painting some fences for a few businesses that were stationed on the same block. He almost laughed at the look of near outrage on Sasuke's face, but he held back so that he wouldn't cause trouble. Currently, he and a couple of clones were working on the longest section of the fence. He had offered to paint this part since he could cut the time doing so by the number of clones made. Sakura looked notable relieved at this while Sasuke simply gave his signature grunt and stalked off to a section he wordlessly claimed to paint. Halfway through the painting, Naruto's form was covered by the shadow of someone behind him. Turning to look over his shoulder, he saw that it was one of the business owners who had come to check on Team 7's progress. You aren't making trouble, are you? She asked suspiciously. While annoyed at being called out, and knowing why he was the only one, Naruto shook his head. No, ma'am. I'm just about halfway finished with this part of the fence. My clones and I should be done around the same time as my teammates. Humph. You better watch yourself. I've seen the acts of vandalism you've done to other stores and businesses. I won't have you bringing shame to mine. With her piece said, she turned and walked off while muttering about fox brats. A sigh escaped him as Naruto turned back around and resumed painting. At least her excuse for bothering you was about the pranks you used to pull, Yami soothed, much to his surprise. I thought you would have been angrier than that. I may be your darkness, but that doesn't mean I can't be understanding. True, that woman didn't need to bitch at you personally, but at least all she did was complain and warn you about pranking her shop. Yeah, I guess. Chin up, Hikari. As I said, I am a darkness that will protect your light. If that means helping you get over the whining of the villagers, then I will do so. He smiled to himself and mumbled, Thanks, Yami. And Yami would be? A familiar voice asked from beside him, making Naruto tense before slowly turning to see Kakashi standing next to him while reading his book. I came to check on your progress when I heard you. Is Yami a friend of yours? He almost broke into sweat. While visibly showing no interest other than what was in his book, Kakashi was obviously paying close attention to what Naruto's answer would be. Hikari, relax. He just gave you an out. Take it. Mentally nodding, Naruto turned back to the fence and resumed painting it. He hoped to appear casual as he replied, Yeah? She's a friend I met about a week ago. She's staying in one of the apartments at the complex I'm living at. I see, Kakashi replied, lazily turning a page in his book. Is she a special friend? Naruto nearly choked at the underlying tone before the Kyuubi, who was heard snickering, told him what to say. Not special in whatever gets you off, sensei, he said casually, repeating what the Bijou told him. He heard the fox give a bark of laughter as Kakashi seemed to freeze and finally look away from his book, surprise seen in his visible eye. After a minute, he smiled and gave a chuckle. I know someone who might appreciate that wit of yours, Naruto. Anyway, I'm glad that you've gotten a neighbor that you're on seemingly good terms with. Maybe I could meet her someday. Why? Naruto questioned, not needing any prompting from Yami or the Kyuubi. She's just a neighbor that is nice to me. What's so special about that? And why is it any of your business who I talk to? I'm just trying to take interest in the social lives of my students, the Jonin replied easily. Scoffing, Naruto and his clones finished painting the fence and Naruto returned his brush to the bucket while his clones dispelled. Yeah, or maybe it's weird that some random stranger is being friendly to the fox brat. Not giving Kakashi a chance to reply, Naruto gathered the supplies he had used and headed back to his teammates to see if they were finished. Watching him go, Kakashi sighed to himself and muttered, This is worse than I thought, Lord Hokage, we've really messed up. With the mission finished, Kakashi dismissed Team 7 for the day. He had to report to the Hokage. How is Team 7 doing, Kakashi? Asked the Hokage when the Jonin came in to give his report. Surprisingly okay, all things considered, the man answered, dropping his written report on his leader's desk. Sasuke is still under the mindset of being a lone wolf, but he still participates in team exercises. Sakura has impressed me by being more focused on her training, and her attitude towards Naruto has changed for the better. She doesn't belittle or strike him like Academy report stated, and is more open to his suggestions or opinions. And Naruto? He keeps surprising me, sir. When I pointed out what my training methods would entail, he brought up a reasonable concern and even admitted to his own shortcomings. He's also shown incredible initiative in correcting that shortcoming by sending out a shadow clone to find someone to help him. What subject did he say he was behind on? Taijutsu. He admitted his style is more brawler than anything and had his clone seek out Rock Lee. He was fortunate to find Guy also, who agreed to help Naruto find a style in exchange for being a sparring partner for Lee. The Hokage nodded in understanding, impressed with Naruto taking his own measures to fix his flaws. Anything else to report? There was a slight altercation during our first D-rank, Kakashi reported. One of the store owners confronted Naruto, warning him not to cause trouble while outwardly pointing out his previous penchant for pranking. However, I'm sure she was more concerned about his tenant than him vandalizing her business. I see. And how did Naruto respond? He was respectful in his response to her, though I could tell that he was affected by her prejudice. However, he brought up something that has me worried. The Hokage frowned at that, waving for Kakashi to continue. He's very bitter, sir. I think the years of prejudice and hatred against him have finally taken their toll, and he called me out on keeping tabs on the quote, fox brat. Sarutobi sighed at that, pinching the bridge of his nose. He's lost trust in the village. No offense, Lord Hokage, but what did you expect to happen? For him to roll over and take everything with that smile he hid behind? I expected the village to get over their misplaced hatred and see that the demon was just a lonely boy. And how did that work out? Kakashi snarked, for once losing patience with the venerated leader. The son of one of the greatest shinobi feels like a stranger in his own home, and the people he will be expected to protect would rather see him gone than accept his help. What would you have me do, Kakashi? Go back in time and take back every mistake I ever made? The Hokage fired back. It'd be a start, the Jonin replied easily. Nothing will make up for the years of neglect and abuse that boy has suffered through. You assumed he has a second personality? I wouldn't be surprised if he had more than two, just so he could deal with the bullshit he goes through day after day. Sarutobi took a breath to compose himself, not used to being criticized by his subordinates. The best thing we can do now is make sure he has a real chance to grow as a ninja. It's too late to do much else. So, it's too late to tell him about his family? About Lord Jiraiya? His maternal ancestry? Kakashi challenged. I will speak with Naruto about those things when I feel he is ready. And when will that be? When I decide. That is final. Scowling, the last living student of the fourth Hokage left the office in a flurry of leaves. The following day of training went relatively similar to the first. Teamwork drills were the focus once more, this time centered around gently tossing an egg between one another and taking steps back with every successful catch. It took some time for Sasuke to restrain himself, not used to acting so gentle when his life goal was to kill his traitorous brother. Was he expected to kill Itachi with a gentle hand? Sakura once again showed a willingness to participate, and show she could be an effective teammate. Whenever a mistake was made, she would take a breath and try again. She even surprised the others when she called out Sasuke on throwing the egg too hard for her to safely catch. Naruto behaved similar to Sakura, though he had a bit more trouble holding himself back from getting frustrated with each mistake. At one point when Sasuke threw the egg too hard, he showed a resourceful answer by quickly discarding his jacket and using it to catch the egg. It was slow going, but Team 7 were starting to show they could work together efficiently. Naruto was the most willing, with Sakura being a close second, but Sasuke was still showing moments of stubborn pride, which held him back. It was now evening, and Naruto was heading for the memorial stone after having a small dinner of rice and fish. When he arrived, he saw that Guy-sensei was already there, and the man smiled in greeting as the blonde teen approached. Good of you to come, Naruto. I already sent off Lee to do some training, so that way I can focus on helping you better understand taijutsu. I'm ready to learn, sensei, Naruto replied as he was led away from the monument and to a clearing. Taijutsu is the art of physical combat, Guy lectured. It involves the use of the human body and can be augmented by chakra if one wishes. One can improve their taijutsu through sparring, practice, and even meditation. Taijutsu is executed by directly accessing the user's physical and mental energies, relying on the stamina and strength gained through training. I think I understand. Good. Now, there are two primary styles of technique used throughout all the taijutsu styles of the world, and they are of such importance that each technique has its own style directly related to it. First is Goho, or hard method. This technique meets force with force, either with a linear, head-on force-blocking technique, or by diagonally cutting the strike with one's force. Although Goho requires greater strength for successful execution, it is the mechanics of the technique that accomplish the defense. Does this make sense? Yeah. So I'm guessing you and Lee mostly use this technique? Correct. We use the strong fist taijutsu style, which uses Goho as its primary method. The Hyuga clan uses the opposite, the gentle fist. The technique used for the gentle fist is Juho, which literally means soft method. So if Goho meets force with force, what does Juho do? The goal of Juho is deflecting the attacker's force to his or her disadvantage, with the defender exerting minimal force and requiring minimal strength. With the soft technique, the defender uses the attacker's force and momentum against them, by leading the attacker in a direction to where the defender will be advantageously positioned and the attacker off balance. So, Juho is about misdirection. A bit oversimplified, but not incorrect, Guy answered. What I will teach you, Naruto, is how to balance both the Goho and the Juho into a seamless form of combat. I will teach you how to strike and block, how to move and misdirect, and how to anticipate and deflect. This won't be a recorded style that I will instruct you in, but the basics in their purest form so that you can develop your own style, one that will be unique to you and you alone. Interesting, a style that doesn't focus on certain stances or techniques, but the bare basics with you throwing out your own techniques, Yami commented. What will make it unique for me alone, sensei? Naruto questioned curiously. At this, Guy grinned brightly and replied, how many people your age can produce as many clones as you can, Naruto? I don't think very many. That's where the uniqueness will come in. Imagine a small squad of your clones, seamlessly mixing in Go and Ju against an opponent, striking hard against their defenses with Go while misdirecting their retaliations with Ju. So many copies of yourself, fighting with a perfect blend of the most basic fundamentals of all taijutsu in the world. I must admit, this human knows how to support an argument. You can learn any style in the world, but every style, no matter how advanced, has one that naturally counters it. So instead of learning advanced moves that will take possibly years to get down, I'll be doubling down on the basics so that I can potentially handle any style used against me. Nodding once, the Jonin answered, now you've got the idea. The basics are the greatest advantage of any art form, whether it is taijutsu, genjutsu, or even fuinjutsu. If all else fails, one can always fall back on the fundamentals to get them through the day. Nodding back, Naruto stood at attention and declared, then I'm ready when you are, sensei. Excellent. Let us stoke the fire of your youth. Despite knowing he was in for a long night, Naruto was both excited and determined to train. A couple weeks came to pass for Team 7, and they had successfully completed plenty of D-ranked missions while learning how to work effectively as a squad. Over the past couple of training days, Kakashi had introduced them to chakra control by showing them the tree walking exercise. Due to having lower reserves to control, as well as having a natural skill for it, Sakura was able to learn the exercise within the first couple of tries. However, Sasuke and Naruto struggled at the start, either having the necessary control for their own reserves. The two young men kept at it, though, both subconsciously trying to outdo the other and prove that they could finish the training faster. However, Yami put an end to that when it made Naruto make more mistakes. You're focusing too much on his progress instead of yours. Let him try running before he can walk. It'll exhaust him faster while you can keep a steady pace. Taking a breath, Naruto mentally nodded to his darkness and took it slow for the next few attempts. Taking away the distraction of trying to one-up Sasuke proved beneficial, for Naruto made it much further than he had when he was rushing through the exercise. Sasuke saw that Naruto was pulling ahead by a large margin, which made him scowl and try harder to catch up. However, as Yami predicted to Naruto, he wound up tiring himself out, his chakra exhausted to the point where he could barely gather any to his feet. Kakashi noticed this and spoke up. Take a break, Sasuke. If you try again, you'll put yourself at risk for a hospital trip. Trust me when I say that chakra exhaustion isn't fun to recover from. The genin all assumed the man was talking about recovering from using too much on a mission, but what Kakashi was referencing was his implanted Sharingan eye, a memento of his late comrade that saps away chakra without stop when the Jonin used it. The eye helped Kakashi become the copy ninja, but the cost was an inability to regulate the chakra drain. Sensei? Sakura spoke up, earning his attention. I was wondering what sort of team we are supposed to be. Oh? What brought this up? I was talking with Ino the other day, and she pointed out that her sensei seemed to be pushing their training more towards capture and retrieval, kinda like her father and his old teammates. I then thought about Team 8 and how all of them would make great trackers or, in Shino and Hinata's case, recon. So, I was wondering what we're supposed to be. Once again, Kakashi was left impressed with his kunoichi student. She had shown strides in her growth as a ninja, and it stemmed from after their introduction as a team. Looking to Naruto, who was seated on a branch and waiting for his answer, the Jonin guessed that something happened between the two genin that sparked this continued growth in Sakura's character. To answer your question, our team will be more of an assault/combat squad. It will be expected of Team 7 in the future to be a frontline unit should we have need for it. Like if we ever go to war? The pinkhead hesitantly queried. Yes, though many of the older generation wishes that your generation will never have to suffer through war, we cannot be blind to the possibility of one. What would our roles be? Naruto spoke up, having walked down the tree with his chakra. Sasuke, from his position against his own tree, was also giving Kakashi his attention. Humming thoughtfully, Kakashi replied, that mainly depends on you three. If I had to assign roles with your current skill set, I'd say that Sasuke would be the ninjutsu specialist of the team, considering how he has more under his belt out of the three of you. You, Naruto, would be guerrilla tactics and squadron attacks with your shadow clones. And as for Sakura, she would be support, but that's only because she doesn't have any jutsu under her belt besides the basics. Sakura looked down at that before returning her gaze to her teacher. What would you suggest I try to learn so I could help more? Consider what I said before and tell me what you believe the answer is, Sakura. She blinked in surprise at him spinning the question back around on her, but she listened to his suggestion and went over everything the man had said. If Sasuke-kun has ninjutsu covered and Naruto will lean towards more taijutsu-oriented skills, I guess my training should focus on genjutsu or even medical ninjutsu. My control is the best out of the three of us, so in theory I should understand those arts easier. In theory, Kakashi repeated, though he nodded at her assessment. Hey, sensei? Naruto asked, getting Kakashi to turn to him. Got anything on fuinjutsu? That's a rather difficult subject, Naruto. What made you think of it? Something Guy-sensei told me during my first night training with him. He threw it in as a sort of footnote, but it got me thinking about things, personal things. The hint wasn't lost on the Jonin, who nodded in understanding. He must be curious about his seal and what makes it tick. But he's aware that he needs to start learning the basics first before he could even attempt studying the seal. I wonder if he'll reach your level, sensei. Or even you, Kushina-senpai. So, do you have anything? Naruto asked again. Kakashi nodded once again. I might have something lying around from my earlier years as a shinobi. He then turned to his other students and asked, would you two like me to search for anything for you also? Anything on advanced fire jutsu, Sasuke immediately answered, not even asking and almost demanding it. We'll see, the Jonin replied almost airily. Sakura? If you have anything on genjutsu or medical training, I'd appreciate it, she answered with a respectful bow. The man nodded to his 3 students. I'll see what I can scrounge up. Until then, we have another D-rank to get to. A trio of sighs made him give the genin his signature eye smile. Breathing heavily, Naruto struggled to keep a basic stance while Lee, who was panting lightly, faced him with a slightly crouched stance. They had been sparring for the past hour straight, with neither showing any signs of wanting to quit. Observing their spar was Team 9. Guy was on the field watching to see if he'd need to step in at all while his remaining genin were viewing the match from their perch on a random tree branch. Niji Hyuga and Tenten had met Naruto after his first week training with Guy on taijutsu, and while Niji wrote him off as pathetic, Tenten saw potential in the whisker-faced blonde. Gotta admit that it's impressive that he's kept up with Lee for so long, she spoke up, hoping Niji would turn his previous opinion around. Scoffing, the Hyuga replied, that just shows me that Lee's been slacking off if some fresh graduate can keep up with him. You really think that Lee is slacking with all the crazy shit Guy-sensei puts him through? He turned to her at the challenge in her tone. Either Lee is slacking, or he's already reached his peak, and both options are disappointing, considering we're his teammates. We can't expect much from a slacker, nor can we expect much from someone with such pathetic potential. Lee's been dependable since day one, Niji, Tenten argued, frowning at the critique he was giving. Maybe instead of belittling Lee, you could be impressed by that Naruto kid giving his all against Lee. Niji said nothing, turning away from the spar to head for another part of the training field. He wasn't going to hold his breath about anything amazing happening when he could focus on improving himself. Tenten scowled at Niji's back as he left, annoyed at his dismissal of their teammate, and the surprised genin their sensei was tutoring. Turning back to the spar, she winced when she saw Naruto barely move around a roundhouse from Lee, only for it to be a feint for a snap kick that struck the blonde's chest and sent him to the ground gasping for air. Almost, kid, she muttered sympathetically as she dropped from her perch and headed towards the 3 of them. That was a wonderful spar, Naruto-san, Lee exclaimed with a tired grin. You really pushed me, and your refusal to give up was inspiring. Naruto, who managed to sit up, was more focused on regaining his breath than he was on forming a response. Guy, thankfully, offered the Uzumaki a canteen of water that he gratefully took and drank from. You've improved significantly, the Jonin informed him. You still try to go for Goho more than Juho, but you adapted well. Remember that Goho is meant to match the force of your opponent, making it ineffective if that force exceeds your own. Yes, Sensei, Naruto managed to reply, breathing better now. I'm still struggling not to slip back into brawling though. Breaking bad habits is one of the hardest things about human nature. You'll break your own in time, and with practice. Right. Thanks for training me, and thanks for the spar, Lee. It left me with a bit to think about, Naruto bid as he stood up. Noticing the kunoichi, Naruto nodded to her. Nice seeing you again, Tenten. Sorry for butting in so much on your team's training. Don't worry about it, Tenten assured with a smile. You're definitely getting better though. Keep at it, and you'll beat Lee someday. While trying to be supportive, she also was teasing her taijutsu-oriented teammate, who let out a cry of motivation and took off in a burst of speed to train. Sometimes it was just too easy. Until next time, young Naruto, Guy bid as Naruto left for home. Team 7 reporting for another mission, Lord Hokage, Kakashi announced as he led his genin to the mission distributary. It had been another week since the training day where his students asked for extra studying material. The village leader happened to be there that day instead of working in his office. Iruka was there too, and he gave Team 7 a kind smile in greeting that was returned by Sakura while Sasuke ignored him and Naruto was seen reading over a scroll given to him by Guy. It was offered to him to detail certain physical conditioning exercises that would help him improve his physical health. Naruto was shorter than many of his old classmates due to his diet, which he was working on after Guy and Kakashi spoke with him about it. Ayam was also a major voice of reason, showing her concern for him one evening he came to eat some ramen. Seeing her worry for him drove home that he needed to change his eating habits. She and her father were two people Naruto trusted above many others, with Kat being up there as well. And Naruto didn't want those he cared about to worry about him. Well, the Hokage spoke up, there are plenty of D rank to select from, with Finding Tora being one that has the highest pay. Sakura shivered at that while Sasuke's brow twitched. That mission was nothing more than a method of torturing fresh genin teams. Why else was it always an available option? Naruto perked up at that though. How much does it pay compared to the others? He asked curiously, earning worried glances from his teammates, and an amused one from Kakashi. It varies, but the minimum pay is twice that of a standard D rank. I believe the record high is 5 times the amount, Iruka added his 2 cents. That's around the same pay as a middle tier C rank. Can we dash? The Uzumaki made to request before he was pulled back by Sakura, who placed her hand over his mouth. Sasuke joined in by giving the blonde an almost murderous glare. Pansy's Yami spoke up with a snort. It's just a cat, and your tuna trick worked great last time, Hikari. It's a treat to see the mighty Uchiha survivors so rattled by a mangy feline of all things, Kyuubi snarked with a chuckle. Enough of these pointless D-ranks, the Uchiha spoke up irritably. They're just pointless chores that the civilians are too lazy to handle on their own. Give us a C rank. I'm more than ready. And are your teammates? The Hokage challenged calmly, not missing a beat. It's not just your skill set that you must take into consideration, young Sasuke. You are part of a team, not a solo act. The Uchiha silently seethed at being talked down to, but he knew he was nowhere near a match for the Hokage, despite his advanced age. Sakura let go of Naruto so that she could stand beside her crush and speak. I believe we're all ready, Lord Hokage. Do you? And what helps you support this claim? Kakashi-sensei may be late every day, but he still teaches us plenty. We've completed several teamwork exercises, sensei gave each of us something new to study, and I believe we've completed the minimum requirement for D ranks to request for a C rank. Taking a moment to look over their team's record, Iruka gave the Hokage a nod of confirmation. Besides, if something happens that we can't handle, then Kakashi-sensei should be able to get us out of trouble, Sakura finished, taking a breath at the end. It was nerve-wracking to speak directly to the village leader, after all. The Hokage hummed thoughtfully, studying the 3 genin before turning to the Jonin. Do you believe them ready? Kakashi sighed and rubbed the back of his head. Admittedly, I'd like to have them train a bit more before taking on a C rank, but Sakura made solid arguments that I can agree with. They've all improved since becoming a team. Taking another breath, he nodded and finished, we'll take a C rank. I'll treat this as a test of their skills and their teamwork. Sarutobi nodded in agreement, while Iruka searched through the batch of C ranks for a lower tier one. Finding one, he handed it to the Hokage, who looked it over before nodding in agreement. Very well then. Team 7, your first C rank assignment will be an escort/guard detail hybrid for the client in question. You are to escort them back to their home in Wave Country, where you will then take part in guarding them throughout the completion of a construction project, the Hokage stated before signaling for the client to be allowed entry. Coming into the room was a gray-haired, bespectacled man with a large beard and dark eyes. The elderly man wore a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, pants, and a pair of sandals. He also carried a towel around his neck and wore a pointed hat on his head. In his hand was an open bottle of liquor with the smell beginning to permeate the room. Seriously? I pay for protection and you give me children? The man asked in annoyance, though the adults could also hear his undertone of concern. Do they even understand what they'll be expected to do? My students are more than capable of handling simple bandits and highwaymen that could be after you, sir, Kakashi appeased with his signature eye smile. The man didn't seem convinced, but he didn't offer any further complaints. My name is Tazuna. I'm a veteran bridge builder, and I expect you all to keep me safe during the journey and during construction. Something seems off about that statement. I noticed it too. Think he's hiding something? Highly possible. This mission will be more than expected. Keep your wits about you, Hikari. Right. Naruto, with a backpack, took a deep breath as he stepped outside the gates of the Hidden Leaf. His eyes closed as he embraced the atmosphere of the outside world. It's different, he murmured. I mean, I know that there are plenty of trees and forests in the village, but this just feels different. It's the deep breath before the plunge, Kakashi replied warmly, standing beside his blonde student. I was the same way during my first mission outside the village walls. That feeling of seeing what's out in the open world, free from the walls of society. What was your first outside mission, Sensei? HM? Oh, my team was assigned with taking out a group of bandits that had been harassing travelers on the road. At the same time, I was a genin when tensions between villages were higher than normal, so we also had to worry about foreign ninja looking to cause some trouble. You were taught by the fourth, right? Kakashi hesitated to answer, but he still gave a slow nod. What was he like? The tone in Naruto's voice was all the Jonin needed to connect the dots. He found out somehow, but who could have told him? Before he could give a vocal answer, Tazuna showed up followed by Sasuke and Sakura. Well? Are we going or what? The man asked impatiently. Naruto sighed at that and muttered, hopefully I can ask you again later, Sensei. Yeah, the man agreed in a low tone before he spoke a little louder. Triangle formation, team. I want Naruto in front with you both flanking our client. I'll take the rear position. The genin nodded and took their assigned positions before the group of 5 began their journey to Wave. At a civilian's pace, it would take a few days of travel with the hope of the trek being uneventful. Wishful thinking at its finest. After the first couple of hours, Sakura decided to talk with their client. Excuse me, Tazuna-san? Yeah, what? I was just wondering, why not have ninja from the land of waves escort you to the leaf and back home? We don't have ninja, girlie. We're a small fishing country with access to the sea. At most, there are militiamen who assist with security and policing. Naruto rose a brow at the man's subtle sarcasm. He must not like their methods or something else is up, and he hopes to have us be a buffer for these militiamen guys. I was thinking the same thing. That's why I asked the leaf for protection detail for my trip back home. On the way to your village, I nearly had a run-in with bandits because I was by myself. I didn't want the hassle when going back home, even if it was a bit costly to hire you kids. Naruto decided to tune out any further discussion between the client and his teammate in favor of observing the road ahead. When he spotted a puddle on the ground, he frowned faintly. Obvious trap, it hasn't rained in weeks. But why would ninja be on this road? Subtly, he readied a kunai with a tag wrapped around it. Thanks to the book on Fuinjutsu that Kakashi gave him, Naruto had prepared several different sealing tags for this mission with the notion of being safe over Sari. This tag was a basic explosive seal with little power, a means of creating distance and intimidating his opponent. When the group passed the puddle, the water rose and took the shape of a person before a cloaked man was revealed with a second joining them not a second later. They both had clawed gauntlets that connected to the other via a spike chain, and they planned to use that as they rushed toward Kakashi from behind. Seeing an opening, Naruto spiked chakra into the tag and threw his kunai through the space between Sakura and Tazuna, having primed the tag so that it would detonate after it passed Kakashi. The two mist ninja were shocked at being spotted, and they ceased their charge to leap away just before the explosive went off. Shadow clone, Naruto declared, breaking past the group while forming 5 clones that rushed their ambushers while he readied another tagged kunai. Sakura, having broken through her initial shock, composed herself and took position in front of Tazuna while facing the mist ninja being charged by Naruto's clones. Sasuke, while annoyed at not having been on the ball, threw a volley of shuriken that flew safely above Naruto and his clones and headed for the enemy. One of the twin ninja dealt with the shuriken easily, batting them away with a kunai before swinging his arm with the chain. His twin used the momentum of his brother's pull to fly forward and meet the charging clones. He disconnected the chain connecting him to his brother so that his momentum wouldn't be halted, tearing into the clones just in time for the original to clash his kunai with his gauntlet. Clever brat, the ninja growled out, earning a feral smirk from said brat. Cleverer than you, he taunted as he activated the tag, creating a proximity explosion that engulfed them both in a burst of fire. This surprised everyone before they noticed Naruto standing beside Kakashi looking perfectly fine. Excellent use of substitution, the Jonin mentally praised, seeing the charred remains of a log where his student should have been. The other victim of the blast wasn't so fortunate. Meizu, the other twin, cried out in alarm, watching as his brother was blasted backward and slammed into a tree while covered in burns. I'll kill you, brat! He made to charge, but he was caught off guard by a vicious clothesline from Kakashi, who used the body flicker to blur right into his path. Having been struck in the throat, Gozu quickly lost consciousness and slumped in the Jonin's grasp before his body was carelessly tossed beside his equally unconscious brother. Excellent work, team, Kakashi praised. Naruto, you managed to reverse their ambush very well and you two reacted perfectly. However, Next time try to give some sort of signal to your teammates so that they aren't caught off guard. Naruto nodded in understanding while Sakura smiled faintly at the praise. Sasuke was still frowning, annoyed that he didn't catch the ambush before Naruto acted. Kakashi then tied up the two mist ninja with steel wire, relieving them of their weapons and tools and waking up the unburnt one. What is your purpose in the land of fire? The ninja, still angered at being bested by a brat, stubbornly remained silent before his body spasmed violently. This was thanks to Kakashi running lightning-style chakra through the wire and shocking him, which also forced the unconscious brother awake with a cry of pain. What is your purpose in our territory? I'd rather not have to ask a third time. Gasping for breath, the demon brothers glared at the man. When his hand gave another brief spark, they tensed before submitting and answering his questions. After interrogating them, Kakashi knocked them out again and had one of his ninja hounds head back to the village to deliver a report of the situation. With that done, he turned his attention to a now nervous Tazuna. You never mentioned that a business tycoon wanted your life, or that ninja were hired to end it, he accused. We don't take too kindly to having the real dangers of a mission kept from us, especially when the wrong sort of team is assigned to that mission. I am sorry. It was all we could afford. You have to understand, Gato has a chokehold on Wave. Building my bridge will potentially free us from his grip by connecting us to the mainland. Who's Gato? Naruto asked with a frown. He's a shipping magnate in public, but there are plenty of valid rumors about his running underground operations that are funded by his company, Kakashi answered. If he's trying to take control of Wave, then he wouldn't want it connected to the mainland since it would cut into his shipping business. Wait, why would it? The Uzumaki doubted. Idiot, Sasuke insulted. It would mean that he would lose money, and someone like him wouldn't hesitate to remove any competition. That's stupid, he scoffed, confusing the others. If I were him, I'd let Tazuna finish his bridge. What? Why? The bridge builder questioned. If this guy is as greedy as you all are saying, and if he's really trying to take control of Wave, what's to stop him from letting you waste all your money and effort on the bridge and simply take it over from you? Hell, he could set up toll stations and make profit on trade from the mainland. And he wouldn't have needed to spend anything because you practically handed it to him on a silver platter. Impressive, I think I might be rubbing off on you, brat, the QB complimented with a fanged grin. Tazuna looked dumbfounded at that for a moment, while Kakashi frowned faintly and nodded after a moment. That's definitely possible, the Jonin agreed. Still, the fact that ninja were sent to kill Tazuna could mean he hasn't yet considered that option. Sakura then spoke up, adding on to Naruto's commentary. If he doesn't take over the bridge, he could also wait until we leave and it's finished just to destroy it. And with our mission saying for us to protect Tazuna-san until it's done, all he'd need to do is bide his time. Damn it, I don't need you brats questioning my efforts to free my country from that damn tyrant. Tazuna raged. You were hired to keep me safe, so do your damn job and keep me safe. Actually, Kakashi spoke up again, the mission has become null and void. What? The bridge builder repeated with a look of despair. You lied about the real threat the mission imposes, placing my students at risk by paying for a C-rank mission when this mission is easily B-rank, possibly even A-ranked. By all rights, we can leave you here and keep your money as compensation for your attempted deception. This could also blacklist your country from receiving any help from us in the future. No! Please don't leave me here. I'm begging you. The man implored desperately. Sakura looked away from him, trying not to look guilty at the possibility of leaving a man and his country doomed. Sasuke was standing with an impatient scowl, wanting Kakashi to decide instead of beating around the bush. Continue or not, he didn't care, so long as a decision was made. As for Naruto, Sensei, he spoke up, getting Kakashi's attention. Maybe we should help him. Oh? And why do you think we should when our client has already lied to us once? What's stopping him from taking advantage of us further? I'm not saying we let him off scot-free for this. The way I see it, if we finish this and deal with this Gato creep, we're in a position to take control of the negotiations concerning how Wave pays us back for our efforts. Devious, maybe Kyubi-san has rubbed off on you, Hikari, Yami commented with a smirk. You conniving little! Tazuna growled out, realizing what would happen. Naruto aimed a glare at him, making him, and Sakura, recoil in surprise. You want our help? Maybe you should have talked with the Hokage about this instead of trying to cheat the system. He might have cut you a deal if you had explained your situation to him. His glare remained as he turned to fully face the bridge builder. The way I see it, you have two choices. 1. You accept the fact that your actions cost you any help and return home. Tazuna regained his scowl. Or 2, you accept our help and take whatever deal we give you, no matter how unfair it ends up being for you. Either way, you deal with the consequences of your actions. So choose. Sasuke had to admit, the loser really took control of the situation. No matter what happened, the village didn't suffer any loss and instead had the opportunity to gain something depending on Tazuna's decision. Who knew he could act like a real ninja? The Uchiha mused, his respect for the Uzumaki marginally increasing. Sakura frowned at Naruto's actions, even if she knew that Tazuna deserved them for almost putting them in serious danger. She was already guilty about potentially abandoning the man, but here Naruto goes offering the notion of exploiting a suffering nation. Still, that's what we were taught in the academy, to take advantage of every situation, she remembered with a wince. Kakashi was impressed with Naruto, though he expected that he was acting on what he learned from the more bigoted villagers who exploited him. While Minato and Kushina would have been hesitant to look for things to exploit from a desperate man, it seemed like their son held no such qualms of hesitation. Nature versus nurture at its finest, the son of 2 of the kindest ninja in the world darkened by the ungrateful people he unconsciously protects every day he draws breath. Tazuna and Naruto stared one another down, with the bridge builder's scowl meeting the stoic visage of the blonde genin. In the man's eyes, the brat was saying he either goes home to possibly die or he trades one leash for another. Mentally, he was cursing himself for convincing his people to go through with this whole idea. He convinced them to take a sucker's bet, and now it was biting his country in the ass. And the worst part was that it was all his fault for trying to get one over on a ninja village. Fine, he grit out. I'll accept your help so long as you take care of Gato for good. Naruto nodded once before turning to Kakashi. The Jonin sighed before summoning another of his hounds. Quickly filling out an update via scroll, he handed it to the hound and sent it off to the village. And now we wait for a response, Kakashi announced, nodding his head to a small clearing off to the side of the road. We may as well get comfortable while we wait. His genin complied without issue, each taking a seat on the ground and pulling out a ration to eat during their wait. Tazuna chose to stand away from the genin, still angry at everything that was happening and at himself for ending up in this situation. How could this get any worse? He mentally groused, downing the last of his liquor. I didn't expect you to be so cutthroat, loser, Sasuke commented as the genin of Team 7 sat on the side of the road while Kakashi spoke more with Tazuna. You were always so damn cheery in the academy. Naruto said nothing to that, silently eating a ration bar. Just a bit ago, a pair of ANBU had come and taken the knocked out bodies of the demon brothers. They did their job diligently, not saying anything and vanishing in just a moment with only a nod to Kakashi. How could you do that, Naruto? Sakura asked softly, guilt laced into her voice. I don't feel like risking my life for someone who seems to think it's okay to do it for me, Naruto answered blandly. Let me tell you something you really need to know, Sakura. The world isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a cruel and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit you as hard as life will. But it's not about how hard you're hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. 1. His cerulean orbs bored into her emerald ones, and she couldn't help feeling so small under their gaze. That is how you survive, he finished. By taking the hits, getting back on your feet, and giving them back. Nudging his head towards Tazuna, he added, Wave is taking hits because of Gato right now. Tazuna wants to try and get them to stand back up, but unless they do something about Gato, they'll just get beat back down to their knees. You still need to hit back too, Hikari Yami spoke up within his mind, but he didn't respond. But what can they do? Sakura challenged. They're struggling as it is, and Tazuna had to lie just to get help from the village. Sasuke scoffed at that, earning her attention. Isn't it obvious? They expect us to do something about Gato. Tazuna only accepted Naruto's stipulation if we deal with him for good. What do you think that means? The pink-haired girl swallowed heavily at her crush's question. She didn't need to answer, for the 3 of them all knew what Tazuna would prefer in the end. What I'm curious about is what the Hokage will do when he reads Kakashi-sensei's message, the Uchiha continued. Will he order us to return, or maybe send us some backup? Naruto noticed someone approaching and spoke up, Sensei, incoming. The Jonin looked away from the bridge builder and stepped up beside his genin to greet the newcomer. As they got closer, he recognized the uniform, their mask, and the long purple hair flowing behind them as they arrived. When they landed, Kakashi gave his signature eye smile and greeted, Good to see you, cat. She stood up from her landing crouch and nodded back to him. Senpai. Lord Hokage sent me as backup for your squad based on the assumed threat level of the mission and the change in parameters. Change? Yes. Due to the parties involved, this mission is now three-part: escorting the bridge builder, protecting the bridge builder, and the disposal of Gato. The silver-haired man sighed at that. I admit I was hoping we wouldn't have to get involved with Gato. My genin don't need to deal with something like this so soon in their careers. I understand, senpai, but these are our orders, Kat replied. Well, I suppose we'd better introduce you to my team. These are Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and… I'm glad you're here, Kat, Naruto interrupted as he, much to Kakashi's surprise, gave a genuine smile to the ANBU woman. And the man could sense her smile as she said back, I'm looking forward to seeing how much you've improved, Naruto-kun. I hear you're the one who gave Tazuna-san his ultimatum. I get enough crap back home, he defended. I don't need it out here, things were supposed to be different. She stepped closer to him and pulled him in, one arm hugging him to her as her free hand gently brushed the top of his head. I know. The rest of Team 7, having come to realize that Naruto wasn't as he portrayed himself in the academy, were surprised at how close he was to one of the village's covert operatives. Based on how they spoke and how she was quick to comfort him, they had known one another for quite some time. As they pulled away, Kakashi turned to Tazuna and informed him, We'll be continuing on with the mission. You should be more than safe with myself and one of our ANBU protecting you while my genin provides support. While the man was still angry about how the whiskered blonde brat had offered him an ultimatum, he was grateful that the Leaf Ninja weren't going to just leave him to fend for himself. And based on the masked woman's sheathed sword, he could only hope that she would use it to get rid of that greedy bastard Gato. It was either they leave me to return and tell everyone how badly I fucked things up, or we accept their help and let them take charge of the negotiations, he mused sourly. I know trying to get one over on a ninja village was risky, but I never imagined that the consequences would be this bad. The man just nodded and the group of 6 continued on. He was in the center with the girl, the 2 boys were flanking them, their teacher was up front, and the masked woman was holding the rear. With luck, he would make it home safely. It was a little over a day later that found them all on a boat silently moving across the waters through some dense fog. While barely visible, the bridge Tazuna was building could be seen, and it was admittedly a very impressive structure. Impressive, but still easily destroyed with the right people. Naruto didn't say anything, his gaze on the water and his distorted reflection. His blue eyes narrowed for a moment before relaxing when his reflection changed to Yami's. You're troubled. I still feel guilty about what I did, he answered her. Tazuna may have been trying to trick us, but he only had the best intentions for his family and country. It's not his fault that Wave is being subjugated, and it sounds like he's one of the few people actually trying to do something. Like you told Haruno, the world is a cruel place, Hikari. No matter how many are saved, there's always someone suffering. Even if Wave is saved from Gato and his cronies, there's another country under someone else's thumb. I know that. You can't always do what is right, Hikari. Sometimes, you have to do what is necessary. Even if it makes me the villain? There are no heroes or villains in this world, Hikari, only the victorious and the defeated. History is decided by the victors, as are the so-called heroes and villains of the world. Her face faded back to his, showing him the reflected image of his somber frown. His gaze stared at his own before he felt a hand gently place itself on his shoulder. Are you all right? Kat asked him softly. I don't know, he answered honestly. Kat saw the conflict ion in his eyes. Taking a moment to look around, she saw the others weren't looking their way and cast a simple genjutsu to make it look like they were sitting together watching the water. In reality, she took off her mask and revealed her face to the young Uzumaki teen. Kat? Naruto asked in surprise. Yugao, she told him with a smile. My name is Yugao Yuzuki. Well, I wasn't expecting this, Yami spoke up with interest. I wanted to show you my face, so you could see that I trust you with something I'm under orders and oath to keep secret. I wanted you to know that you can trust me, Naruto-kun, that I care about you. Why? She glanced over her shoulder and saw Kakashi looking their way from the corner of his eye. She knew he'd see through such a basic genjutsu, and it was honestly sad that the 2 best-in-class genin couldn't even feel that something was off. Looking back to him, her smile softened as she answered, because you're the last link I have to someone who looked after me like I was her daughter, someone who would have loved you unconditionally if she had lived through that night. His eyes widened at who she was referring to. You mean my dash? She gently pressed a finger to his lips, silencing him while nodding once. I do. She was my sensei, and she was someone who looked out for me when I was moving up in my career. Naruto remained silent, even when she removed her finger from his lips. I swear to you, Naruto-kun, she spoke firmly, I only want you to be happy. You never asked for anything that happened to you, the Kyuubi, your parents' deaths, the bigotry of the village. None of that is your fault, and it's unfair that all of it happened to you. He was fighting tears at this point because he wasn't sure if Yugao truly did care for him when she looked after him. Part of him believed she was just doing her job, but hearing her say this, and seeing the genuine care in her eyes, it made him happier than he realized, happy enough to lunge forward and hug her tightly as he let his tears fall against her armored chest. And as he wept, she held him close and whispered soothingly into her ear as a single tear fell from her own eye. Yugao never told anyone, except for her fiancé Hate, but one of her recent missions did more damage than she could have dreamed. While Hate was left with a chronic cough and weakened lungs, she was cut near her womb. She could never give birth, and while she could ask for a surrogate to carry any remaining eggs, she didn't want to. After all, she already had someone she looked after and loved. She already had a son. You sure? Asked a man rippling with muscle with a face mask made of bandages and a massive blade strapped to his back. Yes. The bridge builder is guarded by a trio of young ninja, most likely genin in rank, a jonin with silver hair wearing a face mask and their headband covering an eye, and what looks to be a member of the Hidden Leaf ANBU. The response came from a soft-spoken person wearing a mask that linked them to the Hidden Mist Hunter ninja. They were taking a knee before the man, with their head bowed submissively. So, we got a trio of brats, Kakashi of the Sharingan, and a Black Ops member, he mused. Keep an eye on them, Haku. Get as close as you can without getting spotted and tell me what you think of them. And if I'm noticed? Haku asked. Play the role you're wearing, a hunter nin following the trail of a bounty. By your will, Lord Zabuza. After having left the boat, the group made their way through some misty forestry, their guards up with the limited visibility. Their positions were the same, but Naruto offered kunai with explosive tags to his fellow genin. After telling them how long of a delay it had, they accepted them and had the explosive knives ready to be flung at a moment's notice. Naruto also asked the Kyuubi if he could enhance his senses with some chakra. Grudgingly, the Bijou adhered to the request, knowing that his host needed all the help he could in foreign territory. So, with enhanced hearing and smell, Naruto made sure to take a sniff of the air every few feet. Mostly, he smelled the wet grass and the trees, with the occasional animal that happened to be nearby. What Naruto didn't account for was that his sense of touch was also enhanced. So, when the mist in the air barely turned colder, he felt that chill magnified compared to the others. So, he slid his kunai out of his sleeve and took a ready stance, getting his teammates to instinctively mirror him, while Kakashi and Kat expanded their senses outward. Naruto? Kakashi asked. There's a chill in the air, sensei, he answered quietly so only the group could hear him. I felt it as we were moving. Looking to Kat, Kakashi saw her barely nod in agreement, looking as if she hadn't moved her head at all. With her acknowledgement, he spoke aloud, Come out. We know you're there. It took a few moments, but the individual revealed themselves to be a hidden mist hunter ninja. I apologize for putting you all on edge. I was following a lead on the Demon Brothers. They were said to be spotted in the area and I felt the need for discretion. The Jonin nodded and gave them his signature eye smile. Then I'd be happy to inform you that we dealt with them the other day on the road a few miles from the Hidden Leaf village. We have them in our custody, so I'll be sure to inform Lord Hokage so that he could send a missive to the Mizukage. The hunter ninja nodded once in agreement. That should be fine. I'll be sure to let Lord Mizukage know to expect a message. Safe travels, Leaf Ninja. With that, they left in a burst of speed, vanishing into the mists. After a few moments, the ninja all relaxed while Tazuna was the only one who was left on edge. What the hell was that? Just another ninja going about their business, Kakashi answered calmly before turning to Naruto and nodding to him. Nice work on spotting them, Naruto. That kind of perception can save your life. Thanks, sensei, the Uzumaki replied, replacing his kunai into his sleeve. Let's keep moving. Tazuna, how much further? After taking a moment to compose himself, the bridge builder answered, should be a few more miles, maybe a bit more. It's hard to tell with all the mist and fog. The Jonin nodded in understanding, once again taking point as they resumed walking to their client's home. And yet, despite the situation being handled, Naruto couldn't help feeling that there was more to that hunter ninja than they thought. He just hoped he was being paranoid. But then again, paranoia was just another expected part of the ninja lifestyle. I wasn't able to get much before I was spotted, Haku reported, sounding ashamed. What did you get? I was spotted because of one of the genin, surprisingly. Really? Were they a censor? Either that or they had incredible perceptual awareness. They spotted me because the mist in the area I was in was colder than the others, but I made sure that it was barely any colder. They either sensed my chakra, or they could feel that minute change in temperature. So either he could sense you, or his nerves made him paranoid, and he got lucky, Zabuza mused. Still, either way, it's impressive that he forced you to reveal yourself. What did you tell Hataki? That I was following a lead on the Demon Brothers. Turns out, they never reported because they were already handled by Kakashi and his team. They're in the custody of the Hidden Leaf now. Which means that Hataki more than likely knows about me being here, the man concluded. And that means he'll be more prepared when I reveal myself. I'm sorry. I should have been more careful, Haku tried apologizing, but Zabuza waved it off. No, Kakashi already knew I was here. At least he isn't aware that you're working for me. We can still catch him, his brats, and that ANBU by surprise when the time comes. In the meantime, I have another task for you. Yes, sir? Try to catch that blonde who noticed you alone. Get a read on him, see if it was just a fluke. If it wasn't, he may be useful in the future. He chuckled and added, after we deal with the others first, of course. Of course, Lord Zabuza. I'd like to thank you, Leaf Ninja, for escorting my father here safely, Tsunami, the daughter of Tazuna, said gratefully. It means the world to me. No thanks needed, ma'am, Kakashi replied. We're simply doing our job. You can stop pretending to be so generous, Tazuna scoffed as he set his hat on a hook. He looked to his daughter and admitted, they know I tried to trick them. Tsunami frowned at him before she sighed and gave the ninja a deep bow from the waist. I'm so sorry, I know it was wrong, but we... Kakashi rose a hand to stop her. The matter has been handled by Lord Hokage. We've been tasked with protecting your father, as well as handling Gato. Tsunami looked confused. Handling him how? In whatever way gets him to let go of his hold on your country, Cat answered. Of course, since you are family of our client, we will keep you safe as well, ma'am. The woman looked visibly relieved at that, and her smile became a bit brighter. Thank you again. Why are you thanking them, Mom? The young boy Inari asked her with a frown. They haven't done anything yet. Naruto took one look at the boy, and he didn't like what he saw. In the boy's expression, he saw what he could have been, an angry kid who looked down on anyone who would offer to help. A kid who gave up, and hated people who hadn't yet. You're saying that us bringing your grandpa back is nothing? He challenged. You heard what he told your mom, right? We could have left him back there, and kept the money he paid for lying to us. Instead, we brought him back, we're here to protect him and you, and we'll be dealing with Gato. Yeah, until Gato buys you guys off like everyone else, Inari fired back with a glare. After all you ninja care about is money, just like him. Naruto frowned at him, but Cat placed a hand on his shoulder to calm him. Such a hateful child, Yami mused. But you could have been this child too, Hikari. I can see why his words are getting to you. I don't like looking back on what I almost became, what I was before I started pushing my feelings aside and pretending to be happy. It was easier, but you showed me that it wasn't healthy. I'm glad you realize that now, Hikari. Maybe in saving this country, that boy can see it too. After that, the 5 ninja were offered 2 rooms by Tsunami. Sakura and Cat took one room while the guys took the other. Before they took their rooms, Kakashi pulled them all together to tell them his plan for their stay. So, seeing as you all are relatively trained, I'll assign 2 of you to guard Tazuna each day while training the other and keeping an eye on the man's family. In the meantime, Cat will search for any clues on where Gato is located and do some scouting on his base. Once we have enough information, Cat and I will deal with Gato while the 3 of you will remain here and keep watch over Tazuna and his family. I'll leave some of my hounds here to help you all at that time. The genin nodded in understanding while Cat hummed thoughtfully. Naruto-kun, she spoke up, what kinds of seals have you managed to make combat ready? Mainly explosives and smoke seals. I'm currently studying the basics on barrier-styled seals. I figured they could come in handy for helping protect the house. She nodded at that. Good thinking. I'm familiar with some types of barrier seals, so I'll leave a shadow clone with one of yours to help you learn how to create a decent barrier. I'll have the clone set it up with you so that you get both theoretical and practical knowledge with it. That's a good idea, Kakashi agreed. Naruto can learn about the barrier and how to maintain it while still either protecting Tazuna or training with me. Shouldn't we learn it too? Sasuke asked with a frown. Seals are tricky, Uchiha-san, Kat answered him. Without prior knowledge of the basics, you wouldn't be much help, probably even be a detriment to it. But don't worry, Kakashi appeased before Sasuke could get upset. I'll be sure to help you with your fire ninjutsu while we're here. And Sakura, I'll help you get a better handle of your medical ninjutsu, as well. Thank you, sensei, she replied gratefully while Sasuke grunted in acquiescence. Tomorrow, I want Sasuke and Sakura guarding the bridge. I'll have one of my hounds with you while I secure the surrounding area of the house and Naruto learns about the barrier with Kat's shadow clone. Yes, sensei, the genin responded before they were dismissed for the night. When they were alone, the jonin turned to his old colleague and asked, how did he take it? He already knew about her, but it still hit him pretty hard that I knew Lady Kushina personally. Right, I still need to talk to him about Minato-sensei. I don't know how he found out, but he's keeping his awareness of them pretty close to the chest. I doubt Lord Hokage knows that Naruto's aware of his parentage. I don't think we should inform him, senpai. Oh? Why not? Because, while he may give an outward appearance of caring for Naruto-kun's well-being, I believe he's more concerned about losing a military asset than a hurt and angry kid. Kakashi sighed at that, nodding in agreement. I noticed that, as well. No matter what happens, senpai, I'll be looking after Naruto after this mission. Finally decided to hang up the mask? It won't be easy, you know. I do, but I owe it to his mother and to him to look after him. Besides, she smiled behind her mask, I'm looking forward to offering him a family back home. Haikun agrees with my choice. I'm glad to hear it, the jonin stated before he left Kat to her thoughts. Late in the evening, Naruto was seen sitting up in a tree and lounging on one of the branches. He had spent a few hours practicing the surface walking exercise, and he decided to take some time to stargaze. It's beautiful, isn't it? A voice called up to him, prompting him to look down and see a young woman standing at the base of the tree he was on. Dropping down, he landed in a crouch before standing up to get a better look at her. She had long, black hair that fell to her mid-back, a slender figure, and dark brown eyes. For clothes, she wore a pink, sleeveless kimono, with pale red edges and decorated with small plum-colored swirls that went to her ankles. Around her waist was a simple white obi tied in a bow, and she wore a pair of light brown sandals with dark straps. She also wore a dark-colored choker around her neck. All in all, she was a very pretty young woman. Yeah, it is, he finally answered her earlier question. What are you doing outside so late, if I may ask? Oh, I'm searching for some herbs for both cooking and for my father, she answered. I know that the men who work for Gato are fewer at night, so I can get past them easier. I've heard what happens to girls around my age, so I tend to stay hidden indoors during the daytime. Naruto looked disgusted at that. Geez, the more I learn about this Gato bastard, the more I want to beat him senseless. A sentiment I share, but I lack the ability to do much of anything against him. Oh, where are my manners? I'm Haku. It's nice to meet you, she introduced with a polite bow. Naruto, he greeted, bowing back. Naruto Uzumaki. Hearing his family name nearly made Haku break character. She had been told by Lord Zabuza about the infamy of the Uzumaki-ken, how they founded a nation and made the hidden villages that invaded it pay for their actions in blood. While the Uzumaki were left homeless and scattered after the war, those who had attacked were left weakened and with considerably less manpower. If this young man before her was truly of Uzumaki descent, then Lord Zabuza would be very pleased to have him join them. Are you really? She asked, her surprise mostly genuine and barely an act. The Uzumaki lived not too far from Wave before their nation was lost. I thought there were no survivors. Or at least, those were the rumors. Remembering what Yami said, Naruto quoted, History is decided by the victors. I bet those that destroyed my ancestral home boasted how my clan was wiped out. I see. I apologize if I upset you. No, it's fine. I've never met any other Uzumaki, anyway. I only know that my mom was one. As far as I know, I might be the last if not one of a handful. That's sad to hear, the loss of such a noteworthy clan. I hope you have something to remember them by. If you mean a massive, angry fox that can only be held safely inside an Uzumaki, then I suppose I do, Naruto sarcastically thought, earning an amused snort from Yami while the Kyuubi huffed. At any rate, it was lovely meeting you, Naruto-san. I hope we can talk some more another time. Hearing her hopeful tone made him happy. He never really had friends back home, so it was nice to think he could make one here in Wave. How about tomorrow night? He offered. I like to stargaze at night, so I'll be out here again. She gave him a beautiful, yet small, smile and nodded in agreement. I'll see you tomorrow night then, Naruto-san. Looking forward to it, he bid as she left. When she was gone, Naruto looked back up at the starry sky, and he swore he saw something streak by in a blink. Feeling hopeful, he whispered, I wish I could make a real friend out here. Yami said nothing, silently watching Naruto make his wish before returning into the house. She was unaware of the frown on her face when his thoughts lingered on Haku. She just hoped that this possible friendship wouldn't get in the way of him doing what needed to be done. An actual Uzumaki? Are you certain? Zabuza questioned Haku when she returned and told him about her encounter with Naruto. Fairly certain, she answered. From what I've read in the scrolls you've gathered over the years, the Uzumaki were brought to near extinction, and it's unclear how many survived. Naruto-san revealed to me that his mother was an Uzumaki, so that makes him a half-blood, but no less a member of the clan. We need a way to be certain, Haku, he muttered thoughtfully before heading to a shelf filled with various scrolls and books. Finding the one he needed, he tossed it to her, and she caught it easily. Next time you meet him, have him look at that. It's got some sealing formulas unique to the Uzumaki clan in it, and a lot of Uzumaki seals required blood to use them. Realization dawned on the Ice Kunoichi. You wish to test the legitimacy of his claim, and see if his blood activates the seal. Exactly. When will you meet him again? Tomorrow evening, she replied, though her expression slowly morphed into one of guilt. Lord Zabuza, if he truly is an Uzumaki, will we have to kill him? A raised brow from him let Haku know he was listening. What I mean is he's like me. We both could be the last of our clans, and I can tell in his eyes and in his voice that he suffered like I have. She looked to her most precious person, her eyes riddled with indecisiveness and pleading. Can we not have him join us? He smirked behind his bandaged mask. Quite taken with him already, eh? She didn't react to his teasing, and actually nodded in response. We could understand each other. The smirk remained for a moment before he sobered his expression. He's a leaf ninja, Haku. A genin at that. I doubt he'd be willing to run away just because a cute girl asked him to. This time, Haku did blush because Zabuza complimented her. I still wish to try. As long as you don't give away who we really are. She smiled gratefully to him. Thank you, Lord Zabuza. Barrier-based seals can be both a broad subject and a specialized one, Naruto-kun, Yugao, or rather, her shadow clone, explained, sitting at a table with her temporary student in Tazuna's home. Kakashi and the other genin of Team 7 were with Tazuna at the bridge. Tsunami was cleaning the dishes used for breakfast, Inari was sitting outside on the docks, and the real Yugao was performing reconnaissance. This left Naruto with her clone, learning the basics of barrier fuinjutsu. Although originally, the plan was for Team 7 to go with Tazuna as a group, Kakashi and Yugao agreed that leaving someone behind to look after Tazuna's family could help the man focus on completing the bridge. While shadow clones were very useful in being multiple places at once, they were left with only part of the host's chakra stores and dispelled in a single blow unless enhanced with more chakra. Neither of the Jonin class shinobi wanted to waste that much chakra. They needed to be conservative with their stores to be more efficient in their prioritized duties. How so? He asked. Well, think of it like the different branches of shinobi techniques. If you're aiming to go broader in your training, you'd study multiple subjects, but wouldn't particularly specialize in any of them. Does that make sense? He hummed to himself for a moment before the answer came to him. You're saying some barriers can block multiple things, but they won't be as effective as one that blocks specific things. A barrier that focuses on fire-based attacks would be better than a basic barrier against fire-style ninjutsu, but it'd be useless against other elements. Very good, she praised with a fond tone that he smiled at. Broader barriers are easier to make because they simply create a wall or dome of chakra. This kind of barrier is what we'll focus on for this mission. That makes sense. No point in going too deep in this kind of fuinjutsu when we won't stay here longer than necessary, Yami commented. Gotcha. So, how do we start? Well, first you create the center symbol, she began. Tsunami observed the lesson, having finished cleaning so she could get a better look at the young blonde teen. Her father had told her that it was the blonde who had forced the ultimatum upon him after his ruse was discovered, and he was holding a bit of a grudge against the boy. Frankly, the young woman was on the fence about how to feel about the Uzumaki boy. True, he had forced the choice on her father, but he was the one who helped convince his teacher to continue protecting him. And with that, he was also partially responsible for acquiring backup for the mission. Without the boy forcing her father into a corner, Tsunami doubted that she would have seen him come back home, her last words being a wish for his luck and safe travels. Because of that, she chose to remain grateful to Naruto and the others for their help in keeping her family safe, and in their future attempt of removing Gato from the land of waves. Continuing her observation, she watched as the masked woman helped the young teen finish what she heard was a barrier seal and help him stick the paper tag to her home's front door. A small smile adorned her visage as she saw how relaxed Naruto appeared around the woman. His smile helped set her mind at ease, and as strange as it was, she chose not to question it. After placing seals around the various points of entry, windows included, Naruto was informed by Yugao's clone that he needed to link everyone to the master key of the multiple barrier tags. She, being a clone, had Naruto hold on to the master key by means of a seal placed on his right palm. The Uzumaki was then told that he need to have everyone place a drop of their blood on the master key, which he found to be an unappealing order since the seal was literally inked on his skin. Knowing he'd have to have people drip blood on his hand was, in a word, disgusting. But he made sure to do so, with Tsunami helping him get Tazuna and Inari to link themselves to the seal. He was grateful to her for convincing them, knowing that he wasn't on the best of terms with the two males of the family. Still, it all paid off, and the house was now secure from intruders. The following day, Yuga would go over a perimeter seal. It acted as an alarm of sorts, going off whenever someone not keyed and crossed the boundary line that would be set up. The young Uzumaki was already making plans to recreate the seals he learned and will learn, mentally noting to set them up for his apartment. He was worried about some of the bolder villagers taking advantage of his absence to vandalize his home, something he found ironic since his reputation as a prankster also had many in the village label him as a vandal. Currently, he was meditating on the roof of the house so that he could speak with Yami and the Kyuubi. "I've been thinking about the mission so far." "How so?" "It's too quiet. Don't you think?" "You may be right. So far, you've only encountered those two Miss Shinobi and that hunter ninja. You'd think someone like Gato, given the reputation both that bridge builder and your sensei told you, would be willing to hire more ninja to dispose of the stupid drunk." "Maybe he has, and they're lying in wait for an opportunity to strike? Maybe I'm wondering if Gato is just waiting for Tazuna to finish and kill him then, like I mentioned before." "You can't rule that out, Hikari. Stay on your guard. Anyone could be working for him like that girl from the other night." "Haku? Why do you think that? She looks like she hates the bastard as much as the other people he's screwing in this place. Which is the perfect cover for her to use on some sap like you." Naruto frowned at the insult. "You didn't see her eyes, did you? You're always so untrusting of others that you don't even look at them, you just immediately assume that they're out to hurt us." She frowned back and got in his face while the Kyuubi watched with an interested smirk. "And did anyone look at us when they were treating us like we were less than dirt? Did anyone who called you a freak, a demon, a waste, or a bastard care to give us a chance?" Unfazed, Naruto calmly replied, "She had the same eyes we have, Yami the same pain." Yami kept her frown. "You may not believe her, but I'm not going to just look for the worst in someone who can understand the pain that we feel. She could be a friend to us. Yami, don't you want someone you can call a friend?" he asked softly, looking her in the eyes. "She could hurt us," Yami argued, speaking just as softly. "She could just be pretending to be our friend." He smiled and cupped her cheek, making her eyes widen in surprise at the sudden gesture. "Sometimes you just have to take a risk. I mean, I did that when I started listening to you. Without taking that risk, I would never have accepted everything I kept denying about myself in my life. I would never have learned about my parents, and I would never have gotten your friendship and support." Yami couldn't say anything, too stunned to respond to his words. "Trust me on this, Yami-chan, just like I'll trust you to help me if I'm wrong." He pulled his hand away and faded from the mindscape, and already she missed the warmth his touch gave her. "Well, that was interesting. Should I think of potential wedding sites, Tomato Girl?" the bijou teased with a smile grin. If there was one thing the children of Kushina Uzumaki were destined to inherit above all else, it was her temper. "The fuck did you call me, you overgrown throw rug?" "A tomato. What you gonna do about it?" Naruto suddenly winced and held his head as he heard the faint echoes of shouts and fighting in the back of his mind. Sweat dropping, he cut the connection to his mindscape and leapt down from the roof, landing soundlessly on the ground before strolling over to the tree he perched upon the previous evening. It didn't take long for Haku to arrive, and the duo greeted one another with a shared smile. Good evening, Naruto-san. Hey, Haku. How's your father doing? She smiled a bit wider at his concern. He's doing fine. The herbs help him keep his strength up. How are you doing? Honestly? I'm a bit on the fence, he confessed, sitting on the ground so that he could lean back against the tree. Haku sat to his left and looked at him curiously. What do you mean? I feel bad about how much I'm enjoying myself out here. This country is suffering because of Gato, and I'm happy because I'm not back home. I guess I'm guilty about my feelings. She frowned sympathetically. You're unhappy where you're from, aren't you? He scoffed and hugged his knees to his chest. That's an understatement. I'm seen as a freak or a waste of space by the majority of my home village. Only a handful of people have looked past the rumors about me and see me for who I am. I see you're judged for something you can't control, aren't you? Yeah, he sighed out before looking at her. You know exactly what that's like, don't you? She smiled hollowly and nodded before looking up at the night sky. Do you want to talk about it? Looking back at him, Haku saw a mix of understanding and curiosity in his gaze. Instead of immediately answering, she decided to take a chance on a hopeful whim. Reaching down, she plucked a thick blade of grass and held it up to eye level, slowly freezing it solid with her bloodline before Naruto's eyes. This is my bloodline from my mother's side, she confessed. I was born in a small village in the Land of Water, during a time called the Bloodline Purges. Wait, they were killing off people with bloodlines? Naruto questioned in shock. That's awful. My mother lived in hiding to avoid being killed, and she fell in love with my father and had me. When I was a child, I awakened my bloodline and showed my mother, but she wasn't happy for me. Instead, she was terrified of what I had done and made me swear never to show anyone. A bitter smile formed on her face. I was too young to understand then, but I could tell she was scared. Unfortunately, my father had witnessed what I had done. He was a supporter of the purges, and he accused my mother of seducing him so that she could have another bloodline freak. Haku. He killed her and he tried to kill me, too, she pressed on, tears falling as her voice started to crack. I was so scared I didn't know what to do, so I acted on instinct. She sniffed and wiped her tears before finishing. It was over in an instant. I made an ice spike that pierced him through the heart, killing my father. Naruto couldn't speak, not knowing what he could say about what she had gone through. I only remember living out on the streets after that. I didn't bother begging for food. What my father did and what I did in response broke me to the point where I gave up, content to just wait for the end to come. A gentle smile formed on her face before she spoke again. Then he found me. Someone who saw potential in me and saved me from my own misery. He raised me and taught me how to protect myself. To me, he's my most precious person, my real father. The blonde Uzumaki slowly nodded as she finished her story. He pulled you out of your darkness. She smiled and nodded once. He did. I've promised myself that I'll do whatever I can to repay him, that I'd help make his dreams a reality. He's lucky to have you. I say it's the opposite, but I appreciate your words, Naruto-san. She shifted on the ground, turning her body so that she could face him fully. Do you mind sharing your story? That's fair. I was born on a very infamous night in the Hidden Leaf. The Kyuubi attacked that night, killing many people, injuring many others, and causing a lot of damage to the village itself. People wanted someone to blame after the fourth Hokage defeated the Bijou. And they blamed you, Haku finished, deducing where he was going. Yeah, if they weren't giving me looks of hate or fear, they were ignoring my existence, treating me like a ghost nobody could see. I tried to get them to see me by pulling pranks throughout the village, but that only made things worse for me. I didn't care though, because they finally acknowledged me. Even if it was to yell at me or call me a monster, they stopped ignoring me. I see. Lately, I've had someone force me to accept everything I was rejecting about my life. All the pain, the anger, the sadness. It's been hard, but I'm rediscovering myself, if that makes sense. It does. Rejecting everything made you live a lie. You're now finding out who the real Naruto Uzumaki is for yourself. He smiled sadly. Back to what I was saying earlier, I'm happy being away from the village because I don't need to be around the villagers and their judgmental gazes or words. Out here, he gestured to the trees surrounding them, I can be free. And yet here I am feeling good about myself when this place is suffering. Haku smiled and rested her hand atop his own, getting his attention. That just shows me that you're a good person, Naruto-san. You don't let yourself ignore the pain of others for the sake of your own happiness. You have an incredible amount of empathy, and I admire that. I don't know if it's admirable. Gently, she grasped his hand and squeezed it. I hope you don't stop opening your heart to others, Naruto-san. He stared at their joined hands for a few moments before raising his gaze to her smiling visage. Slowly, he smiled back and squeezed her hand back before they both let go. Thanks, Haku. She nodded before reaching into her kimono and pulling out a scroll. I almost forgot to give you this. Reaching for it, he asked, What is it? You said that you were an Uzumaki, and I remember that they were masters of the sealing arts. My father collects artifacts from old ruins during our travels, and he found this in what he assumed was an old Uzumaki outpost. Unfurling the scroll, Naruto studied the various notes and formulae that were written within. Kyubi? Does this all look legit? A small grumble was heard before the fox replied, Looks pretty complex. Uzumaki were damn good with stuff like this. I'd say it looks legitimate. Rolling the scroll back up, he made to return it to Haku, but she held up a hand to stop him. Isn't this your father's? When I told him about you, he said that it'd be better off with you. He can't make heads or tails of it, but he did mention how it was rumored that most Uzumaki used blood for their seals to lock them away from would-be thieves. He looked down at the scroll in his hand. A seal where blood is used as a lock and key. I should probably get back to my father before he starts to worry, Haku began, getting on her feet. If he's feeling better by morning, we'll be leaving this place to continue our travels. Naruto forgot about the scroll he had been given in favor of looking to the young woman in shock. You're leaving? We need to. Gato is still a serious threat here, and we only planned to stay until my father was well enough to travel again. Oh, he muttered sadly, also getting on his feet. Well, will I see you again? She gave him a somber smile and rested a hand on his shoulder. I hope we will meet again, Naruto-san. I enjoyed getting to know you these past couple of nights. He weakly smiled back. Me too, Haku. The two shared a brief hug, and Haku whispered, Don't be afraid to do what's necessary to be happy, Naruto-kun, even if it means leaving the people you care about. When he pulled back, he asked, What do you mean? She didn't answer, choosing to just give him one last smile before turning around and leaving. With her gone, Naruto was left contemplating what she could have possibly meant by her words. Is she saying that it's okay to run away if it means I'll be happy? That's one way to look at it, Yami commented. It's also something I've said to you as well, Hikari. If it means you can be happy, be free, then I wouldn't take running away off the table. Naruto stayed silent at that, choosing to return to the house so he could sleep. Unfortunately, sleep wouldn't come with everything that would weigh on his mind. Around 2 weeks later, the bridge was nearly finished. After learning from Yugao's clone about the perimeter seals that worked in conjunction with the barrier tags, Naruto joined his teammates in looking after Tazuna and his crew as they worked. When a couple of the members quit out of fear of Gato retaliating against their rebellious acts, Naruto decided to pitch in by creating a multitude of shadow clones to assist in the construction effort. While Tazuna was still holding a grudge against the Uzumaki boy for before, he couldn't deny that his clones would be a huge help. So, reluctantly, the man accepted the aid and guided the assortment of blondes through the construction process. After the first day, Naruto had gained the memories of his clones and could confidently say he had a basic understanding of construction. When he returned to his apartment, he would look over anything that would need fixing. No point in living in a dump if he could fix it, after all. Later that evening, Yugao had pulled Team 7 aside and revealed that she had everything she needed to start the final part of the mission: removing Gato from the Land of Waves. Gato has hired Zabuza Momochi to dispose of the bridge builder. His plan is to attack Tazuna on what he assumes will be the last day of construction, when he believes the hopes of the people will begin rising once more. Naruto frowned at this. He wants to completely crush their spirit, remove any other ideas of rebellion from their minds by killing Tazuna. What about the bridge itself? Sakura asked. Unclear for the moment, Yugao replied before turning to Kakashi. It wouldn't be a stretch to say he plans for Zabuza to destroy the bridge itself before killing Tazuna. Kakashi frowned thoughtfully. It's a decent strategy. But if Zabuza has been spying on us while we were protecting Tazuna, he must know that destroying the bridge would be a waste of chakra. What about explosive tags, or dynamite? Sasuke chimed in. Those shouldn't take too much chakra. True, but if Gato is the kind of man rumors claim him to be, I doubt he'd want to spend more money than he needs, Kakashi shot down calmly. What if it's all a setup? Naruto spoke up, earning their attention. Sensei, what rank would you say Zabuza is as a ninja? His most recent entry in the bingo book puts him at A-rank Jonin level. Don't you think someone with that kind of skill and reputation would charge a lot of money for their services? Why would Gato spend that much money on Zabuza when purchasing loads of dynamite, like Sasuke brought up, would be the cheaper option? Yugao realized what Naruto was implying. Gato wants Zabuza to exhaust himself destroying the bridge and fighting us so that he can simply cut Zabuza out of their deal. Shrewd, underhanded, and very probable. Kakashi nodded in agreement, giving Naruto his signature eye smile. Nice deduction there, Naruto. I'm only looking at it from the most selfish of perspectives. Why do anything yourself when you can have someone else do it for you before reaping in the profits? Both Jonin fought a wince at that, understanding just how Naruto came up with his deduction. No doubt some of the villagers wanted to avoid paying Naruto his due reward for some of the D-rank missions Team 7 completed. All they need to do is file a complaint about the blonde Uzumaki, and his pay is put on hold until the matter is resolved. Damn those people, Yugao mentally growled, scowling behind her mask. Kushina-senpai would paint the town red if she knew what the village has done to your son, Sensei, Kakashi thought sadly. Sakura looked uncomfortable and asked, "What makes you think of something like that?" Naruto shrugged and asked back, "What's the biggest goal for anyone who owns a business, Sakura?" "Profits and reputation," she immediately answered. "I said goal, not goals." "Profit." Why would he risk his profits by spending a lot of money on someone like Zabuza? It goes against that goal. But what kind of profit does Gato stand to make here? She fired back, only to be surprised when it was Sasuke who answered. The ports. Gato runs a shipping company in the eyes of the public, which means he stands to reap in profits by monopolizing this place, the Uchiha stated. He could then expand to various other port towns, where he'd do the same thing that he's doing to Wave. Break their spirit and take over, Naruto finished. Sakura looked horrified at that. That's awful. Which is why we're stopping him, Kakashi spoke up with another eye smile that eased her worries. Senpai, what do you think we should do? Yugao asked the man. Kakashi hummed to himself while cupping his chin. We have a pretty solid guess on what Gato is planning, and Tazuna said that he needs maybe a day or two to finish. This means that Zabuza will come either tomorrow or the next day. We could always go after Gato right now, Naruto suggested. Maybe even make a deal with Zabuza to give him what Gato was gonna pay him if he gets mad that we went after his client? That's one option. What if we tried to explain things to him when he tries attacking the bridge? Sakura suggested. I doubt he'd listen to us, Sasuke shot down with a scoff. He'd just assume we're trying to avoid a fight. Sasuke's right, Sakura, Kakashi told her. Zabuza has no reason to listen to us without solid proof, and all we have is speculation. I think Naruto's suggestion is the best option we have, Senpai, Yugao spoke up. The two of us can go deal with Gato and his men while the genin stay here and look after the client and his family. Kakashi thought it over and nodded in agreement before turning to his students. Keep Tazuna and his family inside behind the barriers until we return. Understood? Yes, Sensei, the trio of genin replied. Naruto, he continued, keep watch of the seals. Make sure they stay maintained until we return. How will we know it's you who crossed the perimeter? He asked. It was a valid question, so Kakashi responded by pulling out a kunai to nick his thumb before going through hand seals. When he finished, he placed his palm on the ground, producing a sealing formula that created a small burst of smoke. When it cleared, a small pug with a blue vest and leaf headband was seen sitting before them. Yo, he greeted, his voice deeply gruff despite his smaller stature. Team, this is Pakin. He's one of my ninja hounds, Kakashi introduced. He's an excellent tracker and has worked with me for years. He knows my scent better than anyone. So, he'll be able to tell us if you're nearby, Sakura spoke up, earning a nod from her teacher. He could also memorize Katsan's scent as well. I can keep track of various different scents, girly, Pakin casually boasted, sounding remarkably calm as he absently sniffed. For example, your hair has my favorite shampoo in it. I like it when Kakashi uses that shampoo during my baths. Naruto and Sasuke both blinked before slowly turning to their kunoichi teammate, who looked like she wanted to have the ground swallow her alive. That can't be right, she tried to argue. You're a dog. You must mean that they just smell similar. Kakashi, deciding to troll, I smiled and spoke up, actually, Pakin prefers floral green shampoo. I got some odd looks the first time I bought some in the female section of shampoos at the store. 1. Sakura's face turned into one of horror. No, she muttered before racing off upstairs and wailing, and oh. Naruto struggled to stifle his laughter, leaning against the wall, and banging his fist against it in a vain attempt to stave it off. Sasuke couldn't help his amused smirk at what had happened. Yuga only shook her head at the antics of her senpai while Kakashi kept his eye smile. Well, we'll be back. Stay vigilant, boys. He then walked out of the room to explain to Tazuna's family what was going to happen while Yuga approached Naruto and knelt down to his level. Keep them safe, okay? You bet, he replied, smiling at her. She cupped his cheek for a moment before standing up and leaving the room. How are you so chummy with one of the Black Ops, loser? Sasuke asked. Naruto gave him a blank look and fired back. I don't bug you about your life, bastard. Don't bug me about mine. He then left the room, leaving Sasuke frowning at the blonde's words. It was late in the evening as Naruto sat outside the house while some shadow clones patrolled the perimeter and checked on the seals. He was worried about his superiors, though he mainly worried about Yugao. She looked after him for years, never treating him unkindly and being someone that he knew he could trust. He cared about her, which made him worry despite her being an ANBU. Stop worrying so much. She and Hitaki are both highly skilled jonin, while Zabuza is one man, Yami spoke up. We already know that Gato wouldn't enjoy paying so much money for an A-rank ninja, so it's highly doubtful that the man has any associates working with him. I know, he replied. Still, I can't help it. Within the seal, Yami smiled faintly. I know you can't, Hikari. I just hope that Naruto began before cutting himself off when a pair of his clones randomly dispelled. Something just got past my clones. The perimeter seal is going off. Kid! He heard Pakin call out, running over from the front door. A pair of scents I don't recognize are closing in. Naruto wanted to curse. Of course, the moment when Kakashi and Yugao are both away from the house, someone makes a move. It could only be one person, too. Come on out, Zabuza! He called out to the trees surrounding the home. I know it's you and someone working with you. It's too convenient that someone is coming after us the very moment Kakashi-sensei left us alone with Tazuna. His yelling got the attention of his teammates, and Sasuke joined him outside while Sakura stayed with the family in the house. As soon as the Uchiha was beside him, a heavy mist started rolling in from the woods, reducing visibility to practically nothing. A chuckle echoed from every direction before the boys heard a gruff voice mockingly call out, Not bad there, kid. Finally figured out I had someone watching you all, huh? We had a hunch, Naruto replied. Nobody came to bother us or Tazuna for practically half a month. He was almost starting to think Gato packed up and left after hearing we joined the old man here in Wave. What better time to strike than when your target's guard is down? He's got a point.